Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thanks, Rick. Okay, number 7, we have an extension of an approval request for the Woods at Red Brook Phase 3. Is anybody here representing the applicant? Come on right up, sir. Name and address, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is John Mulhern. I have an address of 400 South County Trail, Exeter. I am a principal in the subdivision or condominium project, Red Brook, the Woods at Red Brook Phase 3. Here before you this evening, just asking for an extension of our preliminary plan approval, which we received last year. Just waiting for a couple things from the town of West Warwick, a road opening permit, and the approval of the signage that'll go on New London Turnpike.
Okay. Anybody on the board have any questions before I ask for a motion for an extension? Okay, I'll entertain a motion for an extension.
I'll make a motion that we extend the Woods at Red Brook Phase 3.
I have a motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Ray. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, number 8, we have a recommendation to zoning for special use permit for the Angelino Family Addition, 567 Main Street. Is there anybody here for the applicant tonight? Come on up. Name and address, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Antonio Angelino. I reside at 8 Kylie Way, Coventry, Rhode Island.
Would you like to just tell the board what you're planning on doing on this project?
Just like to
And-
make the house new, clean it up, maintain some of the old walls and structure up, and add a 12-foot addition. So it could be a livable, to standard house with all new codes, all new, everything, new electrical, new plumbing, new heating, new everything. Basically, just kind of the second floor, we're gonna put like 2 dormers and put a full dorm in the back, and be 3 bedrooms upstairs, open floor plan on the first floor.
Okay, I know this was in front of us in the past. Has everything been straightened out with the building
Yes, it has,
inspector?
absolutely.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on the board for this applicant?
Just a couple of things. And again, I'm kind of referring to what I may already read in this report, but I just want to verify. So you're going to be working to get a new on-site wastewater treatment system plant. You adding bedrooms? You got to upgrade
Yeah,
the
no,
septic.
we're gonna get a brand new septic design.
You gotta get a
absolutely. Yeah,
septic,
we
so-
have the test holes in already. Millwork engineers is,
Yeah. That's fine.
Yep.
Just wanted to make sure. So that's step one. And then you're right there in the river. So did you need a coastal, any type of a wetlands permit? You need that?
they're working on that too.
All right. So,
Mills Engineering, yeah.
all right. So you still got to get all your permits. You're just here
Yep.
to make sure before you
Absolutely.
spend all that money that you're going to go to the zoning board
Yeah.
and so forth and so on.
Yep, all that is going through. We're far enough away from the river, from the high table, water table. It's all marked out. We already did that site work. You have a copy of it, a smaller
Yep.
version per se. So that all work's been done and been, all calculated. So
Yeah.
So go-
I'm just kind of flushing some stuff out. So when people vote, we kind of have it on the record. That's
Yeah,
all.
absolutely.
So yeah, we're good. And I noticed it's 13 feet from the road now, and it's going to still remain 13 feet.
yeah.
It's just the way that it is, and you really can't move it back because the river's
The
there.
river's on the other side.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions for the applicant? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for a recommendation to zoning for a special use permit.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a favorable recommendation to zoning for special use permit. Owner applicant Antonio Angelino.
Angelino.
Address 567 Main Street. Assessors plat 104 lot 1, zone I2 industrial, single family dwelling. Is seeking a special use permit to expand the existing house in an I2 zone. The property has permanent physical access to the main street, and the proposed addition will not prevent any safe ingress or egress of vehicles. Property has sufficient off-street parking. Property has adequate space for storage, trash receptacles, room for trash pickup. The applicant's currently working with DEM to upgrade the OWTS to support additional bedrooms, and is also making sure of any approvals or additional permits due to the river being as close as it is. There's no additional buffing required at this time. Adjacent properties are primary single-family residences. Section D.4.3 of the comprehensive plan encourages property owners to conduct home rehabilitation as required. Proposal is consistent, comprehensive plan. If the applicant is issued a special use permit, then this project would have no detrimental impacts to public health, safety, welfare, or morals. I would also like to include the planning director's report in my motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Kenny. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Mr. Reyes. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next under the agenda, we have a pre-application for Blackrock Condominiums, owner Murray Street LLC, CO Michael Mahone, applicant Murray Street LLC, CO attorney Tom Cronin. Proposed comprehensive permit for major residential development consisting of 17 three-bedroom condominiums with 25% affordable units, AP 63 Lot 49, Zone R20, Murray Street, Irene Lane. Hi, Mr. Cronin.
Good evening. Thomas Cronin for the applicant. We brought Mr. Brunero out of retirement last month to present this to you, and he was roundly rejected
And I
by the
missed that.
board. I know.
No, he said, let's kick it the next one. So Mr. Cronin can come.
So as old as he is, he was able to relay the board's comments to me. And I spoke to the applicant, and we've made some changes in response to the board's comments. And I just want to review them with the board, make sure we're heading in the right direction. So Mr. Studley's put the proposed new concept plan up on the smart board here. Couple things. So we're going to reduce the density of the project by reducing the units from 3-bedroom units to 2-bedroom units. Each unit will be a 2-bedroom unit. We're going to increase the conformity to the surrounding area by breaking up the buildings. So they're not going to be a long strip of building along Irene and along Murray. Instead, we're going to have 4 buildings instead of 2, which allows for some space between the buildings. And finally, we're going to move that sewer and water off of Irene onto our property so that it exits our property in the southeast corner at the corner of Irene and Murray, so that it doesn't pass any of the single-family houses on Irene and possibly subject them to sewer tax or sewer use, even if they don't connect, kind of thing. You know, we'll eliminate that possibility by carrying it across our private property until that exit point where it comes to that teardrop shape at the corner of Murray and Irene. The rest of the plan remains. It's affordable housing, 25%. The number of units hasn't changed. Obviously, the location hasn't changed, anything like that. We're just trying to make it fit this board's view a little better and the neighborhood a little better. So I'd appreciate any feedback you have so that we can, headed in the right direction here as we start to spend some money on engineering and the
Well,
like.
you answered 2 of my questions. The first one was going to be to try to alleviate property owners for having to hook up to the sewer. So it looks like you're taking care of that. And the 17 3-bedrooms, really zoning and doesn't allow it. I believe it's 1 3-bedroom out of every 10. So you answered that question, going to 2-bedroom. So thank you for that.
Okay. Any other thoughts on the concept?
I don't have any issues myself. Anybody else on the board have any issues with the concept? This is a pre-application.
So, and I appreciate moving the sewer line should it have an adverse impact on abutters and fees associated with that. But will there be any provisions made if somebody wants to tie in?
Well,
And
I mean, I think you can have it one way or the other, Mr. Clooney, and the sewer line would run on private property. If they wanted to approach the owner about connecting, there's been a spotty history in town about
yeah,
how you follow through on that, but it would only, the way that we've redrawn this, hold on one second, Mr. Clooney.
sure.
I think only, as the sewer line's gonna come here, only this house
Yeah.
would have the opportunity on that
Yeah.
so-called private line to connect.
Okay. And at what point does that line become public? All the way out to,
It is a sewer right here. And so it'll be from here to here. There'll be a sewer, cover here, cover here. That would become public at that point.
at the first point to the set?
Yeah, right here. What's next is private property.
Right. Okay. So there's already a public line in the street. There's already a public line there. It's just a public line now. They're the sole abutter of the apartments that are there now.
It stops in front of number 125.
Yeah.
Which I believe is Murray, 25 Murray. That's
Yeah.
where the line stops.
Okay. I don't know how the other board members feel. I still think I drove over there. I think that's a lot of units for that lot, but I'll leave it at that.
I like the fact that it's 2 bedroom.
Oh, I'm fine with, yeah. Me too.
I
Me
do
too.
certainly like
Yeah,
that.
that's,
And we're adding to affordable housing.
I think it's taken up too much.
Well, it is a comp permit. Densities can be altered.
We
Um,
we will be asking to increase the amount of lot coverage, however you want to say it, the density of the use, yes.
And if you evaluate the area of lots around it, they're rather small also.
Yeah. Well, we always have to, when we do the concept plan, we see what will fit, what will actually be, approved and allowable. We never really know at this stage, but as far as what we can reasonably place on the property, that's what we've included.
yeah. And those units, now those are townhouse style.
Townhouse, yes.
So what do you got? Garage underneath and then 2 floors above, or just 2 floors total? See, that's the thing. You really can't tell from this picture what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
You only see the aerial view down, a bunch of little squares. I wasn't aware until I actually did my own little site visit. I missed the house that's in the back over there. So there's one house on that whole island, which right now is predominantly wooded. And it's tough because you can't see from one side of the land to the other side of the land unless you drive around the circle. But I looked at it and it just seemed like 17 units seemed like an awful squeeze over there for, what is it, 87? I forget the lot
It's
size.
1.13 acres.
So 60,000, I'm not sure what that is in square footage, but
It looks like on this plan, it's 60,868 square feet.
right, so 60. Okay. So that's an acre. Yeah, I can't really figure it out right now.
Well, I certainly can express, Ms. Elderkins, and your opinions to the applicant. I'm never going to give a unit up standing here at the
Oh,
podium.
I know.
Yeah, I
I
wouldn't
know.
be doing this line of work too
Well, he can
long.
Well, he
doing
can,
that,
yeah.
but-
And when he does his engineering, we'll see what he comes out with.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's got to be adequate space on there for trash receptacles,
Stormwater.
yeah, things like that. So you can take a look. But remember, you remember the one over on, what was it, Fairview?
Yes.
They were kind of jammed in there. And then at the end of the day, we trimmed a couple of units off. So
Get to retain stormwater, snow, waiting pile of snow.
the one good thing is you got road frontage all the way around it. So it's
Yeah.
not like fire apparatus or any of that stuff's going to be a problem. But
Right. That was the, over on Fairview, it was the fire.
right.
Yeah,
That was the thing.
where we ended up having to give up a couple of units.
Okay.
Yeah, I happen to agree. If we can certainly cut down on the amount, I appreciate going from 3 to 2, as I said. But you know, they are kind of squeezed in, but we'll see. This is pre-application.
One of the reasons we're so interested in coming back is that this is likely to be one public hearing. You know, so
Yes.
as far as the scheduling, so we want to get as much feedback as we can before we get to that point.
I appreciate you coming back. I wasn't here, so I really appreciate it.
It comes out to 1 unit per 3,530 square feet. So I don't know where that fits into the neighborhood. So if you did 10 units, it'd be 6,000, but that seems a little extreme. So say between 10 and 17, you're picking up.
All right. Well, I thank you for.
All right.
the board
Anybody
for-
else on the board have any questions for the applicant? Okay, Mr. D'Agostino, I don't have to make a motion to approve pre-application as presented. Okay, we'll see you at Master. We'll see you at the next.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Public comment will be at the end, and public comment will be at every public hearing. You're very welcome. Okay, new business for discussion and or action. We have a 10.1 preliminary plan for Hammett Preserve, owner Anthony M. Pimento. Applicants the same. Anybody here representing the applicant? Hi,
Yes, Your
how are
Honor.
you tonight? Name and address for the record.
My name is Richard Bizdera. I live at 9 Benjamin Street, Warwick, Rhode Island. I'm also president of Ocean State Planners, Inc. I'm a registered land surveyor in the state of Rhode Island, and we're representing the client here tonight.
Thank you.
So we're working on a subdivision of Hammett Preserves. I've been working on this project since 2007.
Yeah.
There have been other engineers and surveyors involved before that. It is a 2-lot subdivision. We're dealing with 45.79 acres, almost 46 acres. And what we're looking to do is just cut one single lot off this acreage, which will leave a balance of 42.79 acres, almost 43 acres on the balance. We have lot number 1 and lot number 2. And again, number 2 is the one that is primarily going to be built on right away, or it will be, used for development, proposed to sell, whatever is going to happen to it. That's the intent of this project. The balance of it was always going to remain as open space. The client has entered into an agreement with the neighbor across the street who wanted to buy the parcel and leave it as open space. And that's what the intent was. I believe the intent is still to do that. But because you have rules and regulations, we still have to go through the process of preparing everything for that lot 1, even though it's going to be left as open space, not to be developed. So we have to show Class 1 survey on a whole 45 acres. I had wetlands approval in 07. I had OWTS approval from DEM many years ago, also for subdivision suitability. This was going to be a large project, 8-lot subdivision, but they've scrapped that because of the cost of roads and the amount of it was involved with dealing with wetlands.
Yeah.
So again, the balance of my understanding again today is that lot number 1 is going to stay as an open space, not to be developed. So that's what we're presenting tonight is a 2-lot subdivision. We're going to provide all the paperwork that's needed to get it approved that way. We have done testing. We have had wetlands approval in the past, and we're just here to present it to you tonight.
So the applicant will be holding on to that open space.
The applicant is going to sell it to a butter across the street who wants this as open space, who already has a parcel of land. I believe he has 17 acres.
So on the sale, it will be considered
That is my understanding.
open space
Yes,
and no further construction.
that is my understanding. I have a letter in our file that says that.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else on the board have any questions?
So this plan that was submitted that shows a proposed single-family dwelling, then that was just done to go through the exercise of showing one could be built on lot 1?
It was going through the exercise because your staff and planning department required us to do that because of the rules and regulations. It wasn't our intent, but because in order to get to where I am today, we had to show that it was a buildable lot. So it is a buildable lot, but that's not the intent of the project.
Mr. Clooney, and if I can jog some
Go
of
ahead,
the memory of some of the planning commission members that were on the board at the time. There was concern at pre-app that any lot that is designated as open space, it was questionable as to why it would be designated as open space. Is it that it wasn't buildable and that they just wanted to offload it? That was what the sentiment of the board was at the time. So the applicant has proved that a lot could be developed there. And that's why they have gone the way of showing a proposed home there. What happens with it after they get an approval, that's up to the owner. Whether they sell it to somebody and they keep it as vacant land, that's their prerogative.
But can they develop it? That was my question.
Yes, absolutely.
So that lot could be developed if sold,
Yes,
Okay.
it could be, yes.
because I remember that. the
At this
concern.
time, with one single family home, if they wanted to do anything else with it, or somebody else bought it and they wanted to do something with it, then they would need to come back before this board.
Thank you, John. Anybody else have any questions for the applicant?
I do, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead. Mr.
So you said that you, like, whatever the math was, 2007, years ago, already got approved for the OWTS?
I had a subdivision suitability. So all the test holes that we did numerous tests,
Yeah.
thinking it was going to be an 8-lot subdivision. So we dug numerous tests that are out there. I had the ones on lot number 2, the 3-acre lot that we're going to actually build on.
Yeah.
I had those updated and re-verified. So
okay.
those are ready for a OWTS on-site wastewater treatment plan to be designed for that lot
Okay,
with the building inspector once we have a house plan and a buyer.
okay. But you weren't already approved for it. You just got it all lined up.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Anybody else? No other questions from the board? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve a 2-lot minor subdivision without street creation or extension. It's a preliminary owner applicant, Anthony Pimentel III, Hammett Road, assessors plat 323, lot 60, zone RR3, lot size 45.79 acres, single family residential, proposed use, 2 single family homes. As it was explained to us, the second one will be left vacant, but it is suitable for another house, from according to Mr. Studley. The applicant proposes to subdivide the existing 45.79 acre lot into 2 parcels. All right, adequacy. The lots will have access to Hammett Road, a street that shall serve safe and adequate access for vehicular traffic. The proposed lots will be physically accessible for emergency service from the street upon which they front. Coventry does not have an official scenic highway, even though we have some beautiful roads. The proposed lot conforms to the Coventry zoning regulations. Coventry comp plan does not specifically define the RR3 zone. However, it does explain that rural residential zones shall be characterized as areas which are generally not served by public facilities, in which intensive development should not occur. These areas are characterized by low density development, large estates, agriculture, and certain low intensity non-residential activities incidental to rural environment. This district is designed to preserve the rural character of the town and preserve and protect the environmentally sensitive land. It is kind of wet in that area. The two lot minor subdivision generally consistent with the town's comprehensive plan. The surrounding area is mostly comprised of single family homes. Proposed residential development is in keeping with the adjacent uses. Preservation of agricultural, so noted. It's all wooded. The lots will have direct frontage on Hammett Road. Finding of facts, consistency with the comp plan. Coventry comp plan defines the rural residential zone areas which are generally not served by public facilities. That's repeating it again. These parcels with their proposed acreage are consistent with the comp plan. Significant negative environmental impact. Soil evaluations have indicated the land is suitable for OWTS or a septic system. Applicant will have received confirmation for Rhode Island DEM that Freshwater Wetlands Act either does not apply to proposed site alteration or that the approval has been granted, which is part of it. The applicant will also have to receive DEM approval for the OWTS for each proposed home. Strict adherence to the guidelines set forth. Any permit from DEM shall ensure there'll be no negative impact on the environment. Zoning standards, development will comply with the zoning ordinance, traffic impacts from two single-family house lots is being negligible. So planning staff recommends to move forward with it. Stipulations. The applicant shall receive approval for sediment control permit from the town engineer prior to issuance of building permit. The applicant shall receive approval from the town of Coventry Building Department for the proposed wells that will service the two new single-family homes. The applicant shall either receive confirmation from Rhode Island DEM that Freshwater Wetlands Act does not apply to the proposed site alteration or approval from RIDEM for the proposed site alteration. The applicant shall receive an approved RIDEM OWTS permit for each proposed home. Each DEM permit shall be submitted as part of the application for the building permit. Stormwater drainage plan shall be submitted to the planning department and town engineer prior to issuance of the building permit. Stormwater management practices must be provided to treat the water quality volume of runoff from the proposed driveways, in addition to rooftops, in accordance with the state stormwater manual, state of Rhode Island stormwater management guidance, and for individual family residential lot development practices should consist of qualified pervious areas, QPAS, rain gardens, or infiltration systems such as dry wells, crushed stone, or trenches. The applicant shall submit design calculations for all stormwater management elements. Applicant shall include on the final plan the location of proposed well on the lot. 1, each lot shall include street trees planted outside the road right away according to the requirements of town subdivision. Article subsection 13, street trees. There's a lot of trees out there. Trees shall be no less than 2 inches. I mean, there's plenty of trees out there. Caliper at the time of planting and shall be planted no less than 40 feet apart from each other. Planted during construction, suitable fencing, snow fencing shall be installed around each tree. Drip line to ensure protection of the tree and their survivability. If mulch, it should be done with the volcano mulching. Does not occur. Trees shall be deciduous and be of a type and species appropriate for the terrain and soil and climatic conditions, and shall be salt tolerant. Trees selected shall not be of all the same type and species should any future disease or insect outbreak devastate particular species. Dutch elm disease, emerald ash borer. Now we have the spotted lanternfly. No ash shall be used. Specifications and related details for street trees shall be included in the plan. If a waiver of the street tree requirement is requested, the applicant shall identify specifically existing trees on each lot that would serve in place of the street tree requirement for approval by the administrative officer. Also, as a condition of any building permit during any construction, the protective fencing, like snow fencing, shall be placed around each tree as its drip line to establish protection zone is free from any and all conditions related to machinery. So in the motion to approve the 2-lot minor subdivision preliminary plan application located on Hammett Road, Assessors Plat 32360, lot 60, and the applicant's related submittals in the staff report, including identification of approvals and other information, shall be submitted prior to and as part of any final plan application submittal, and other recommendations or as otherwise altered by the planning commission as follows, as further conditioned by the planning commission as follows. I don't have anything else.
You want to incorporate the direct?
I want to incorporate the director's report in my motion.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Mr. Paloonie. And any discussion?
I have discussion. I just
Go
want to
ahead,
make sure these stipulations only apply at the time in order to get the building permit. In other words, we're not making them jump through and get wetlands permits and everything else for the house that's not going to be built on lot 1, right? Just
Right. So that would be a stipulation of the building of a home.
Right, that's why
At
it
the
was
building
worded
permit
that way.
stage,
I just
correct.
wanted to clarify. It does show,
Only that
I think
one.
the only thing that was a little bit of a burden there was to show the proposed well on lot one, even though lot one won't be developed at this time. But all the rest of these stipulations will be necessary to pull a building permit on lot one. But if he never pulls a building permit on lot two, then he doesn't have to jump through those hoops. Is that correct?
Correct.
Like street trees and identifying and all that other stuff. It's just not necessary.
It's
Okay.
not.
I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
So I had a motion, I have a second. Any other discussion?
I just have one question.
Go ahead, Mr. Kenny.
Stubbs. The stipulation 7 about street trees, knowing that that's an area where there's trees abundant, why are we stipulating that we have to put street trees?
Street trees is a basic requirement of your zoning and subdivision regulations. But you'll notice that one of the things in there, so they are on the hook to do street trees, but we do suggest that if there's a waiver that's required, we still want to meet the street tree requirements. So all they need to do is identify a set of trees, or like we did with another development, they establish a wherever there's a buffer of existing vegetation, we can use that to serve as that purpose.
Oh.
And then that meets the intent of the regulation. But street
Okay.
trees are required overall.
Yeah, I
Yep.
understand. You see most of the areas where they're doing sidewalks or stuff like that, because there are no trees.
In a cul-de-sac,
and,
right?
you know,
So-
stuff like that.
In other words, it wasn't listed specifically as a waiver by the applicant, so this is just getting it on the record.
Okay.
Yeah, this is,
Clarification, I appreciate it. That's all I have.
Mr. Flynn.
Go
Can I- Yeah, this is in Irene Lane. It's Hammett Road, so there's a lot of trees. Okay, I said that in my motion when I read
Yes, you
it.
did.
Yeah,
Thank you,
okay.
gentlemen.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just not telling the board to do one thing or another. It's just typically you make a recommendation for final plan approval. That wasn't discussed. Who reviews final plan? The board or staff?
Okay, yes. If you want to add that, if you want.
I'd like to add to my motion that the final plan could be approved administratively.
Second.
Okay, thank you, John, for bringing that up. Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. We went through discussion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have a public hearing continued to this date from July 27th. It's a development plan and review for Steve's Bounce House. Owner is P&R Properties LLC. Is anybody here representing the applicant? Come on up. Name and address, please, for the record.
Michelle Ross, 21 Sugar Maple Drive. Yes.
Stephen Ross.
Douglas J. Allen Jr. I reside at 6 Greenwood Lane in North Bay, Rhode Island. Currently we work for CrossFit Engineering located at 51 Central Road, Walworth, Rhode Island.
Thank you. I know you've been here before, but could you just give a quick presentation on what you want to do?
Just for the record, I am a registered professional engineer in the state of Rhode Island. The site is located within the Center New England complex, and it's identified as flat map 5 on 14.2. It's located in the business park zoning district. It's approximately 1.4 acres in size. The site's currently undeveloped. It's mostly gravel with some brush and woodlands in the back. There's an existing access to the site through an existing curb cut from the Center of New England Boulevard, which is directly across the street from Romancing the Stone facility. Existing stormwater runoff on site is either collected in a temporary sediment forebay that's located in the center of the site, which discharges to an existing detention pond that's adjacent to this facility in the northeast direction, or flows directly to the existing detention pond or wetlands located in the back. The proposed improvements include the following: a 1,000 square foot office building some two 5,000 square foot storage buildings. Proposed storage building for party equipment rentals, which include inflatable bounce houses, water slides, tents, tables, chairs. The project does include creating a new curb cut in the center of the site, located in the center of New England Boulevard, and created a second curb cut facility specifically designated for deliveries. And we would close the existing curb cut with granite curb. Other improvements include a parking lot to provide 24 parking spaces, installation of precast curb, signage, striping. The parking will include one handicap parking space, and it will be the standard size of 9 feet by 18 feet. The project includes two designated 12 by 60 foot loading space areas, new concrete sidewalks and handicap ramps located along the center of New England Boulevard, installation of retaining walls, and this is to minimize spilling of the existing detention basin perimeter and to avoid any disturbance within the 50-foot wetland buffer. Site includes installation of guardrail, new utilities, which would include water, gravity, sewer, gas, underground electric. This project does include importing approximately 500 cubic yards of clean fill in the middle of the site to meet proposed grade. The proposed layout provides access for both fire apparatus and emergency vehicles. We are proposing landscaping to screen the new parking lot from the center of New England Boulevard. A landscape plan is included in the package. We also are proposing a dumpster pad with a 6-foot high wooden fence enclosure for screening at the back of the property. The site includes proposed site lighting in compliance with the dark sky principle. Again, a lighting plan is included in your packet. The project is unique from a drainage design perspective because the business park complex is already equipped with stormwater basins designed to accommodate up to 90% impervious surface for each and every lot within this development, including this project. Our site covers 68% impervious surfaces on the lot, which is well below the allowable. It has been permitted through DEM with that 90% coverage. One unique aspect is that one of the pre-existing stormwater basins is directly adjacent to our site. The project will include the installation of a new stormwater management system, which will provide both water quality and groundwater recharge for the proposed improvements. Some water improvements include a storm scepter for pretreatment, an infiltration system, an outlet control structure, a diversion structure, and all associated drainage structures and piping. All discharge from this site will go directly into that existing stormwater basin. It is noted that there is a significant upstream off-site catchment area which drains to and through this existing site under existing conditions. We are proposing to do some grading work on this lot, which is map 5, lot 14-1, to allow the surface flow from this lot to pass through the site and directly to the existing detention basin, which it does under current conditions. This can be seen on C5 grading and drainage plan. The off-site improvements include the installation of a new manhole structure, approximately 225 linear feet, 24-inch pipe, and a flathead section. The 24-inch pipe is oversized for the catchment area it is draining. The 10-foot wide drainage easement is proposed with the intent to allow for future design and development of vacant lot 14-1 to tie into the system and directly outfall to the existing drainage basin. Also, with this pipe and this easement, Steve's Bounce House site will not have to be concerned about surface runoff from the site upland and any future development to lot 14-1. The site stormwater improvements required DM approval. DM issued us 2 minor comments. We just resubmitted revised material to them on Monday, August 22nd. In speaking with them, I don't foresee any additional comments, and approval should be received within the next few weeks. Regarding the water approval, I spoke with John Buchaina, who's Director of Construction at Kent County Water Authority, and he did verify the Center of New England complex is its own public water system, which means privately owned. The original Kent County approval for maps and metering of this development, including maximum water supply capacity. The approval also required that all materials used meet the requirements in the Kent County Water Authority rules and regs, which this project conforms to all Kent County requirements. As long as this development and all other future developments within this complex falls within that approved capacity, Kent County Water Authority does not need to issue any approval. The approval comes from the licensed public water supplier, which is the receiver, Matt McGowan. Also, the project falls within the Hopkins Hill Fire District, and we have received approval from the Fire Marshal, Mark Vincent. Project is currently under review for approval from both the West Warwick Regional Wastewater Facility and the Town of Coventry. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You asking for some waivers too, as far as parking and,
The parking lot, based on the regs, it can go possibly 37 parking spaces. It's two different regs. We are proposing 24, although we don't see more than 10 people at a time at this
Okay.
facility.
hey, before I open up public hearing, is there anybody on the board would like to ask the applicant any questions?
Okay.
Just for clarification, this is a storage facility where you rent out items to public. In other words, my kid's having a birthday party. I want a fire truck bouncy house. I come see you and you guys make coordination.
You call us or you go on our website and you book it and we'll deliver it to you.
Okay. Will you have public coming to the office?
Very rarely, it will be more staff than anything at one-offs with maybe a karaoke machine, but very rarely do we ever have anybody come to us personally.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mostly delivered.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, I'll make a motion to open up public hearing.
Second.
I'm asking for a motion.
Make a motion to open public hearing.
Second. I thought you were me. My bad.
I have a motion by Mr. Burke. I have a second by Mr. Kenny. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, public hearing is now open. Is there anybody in the public that would like to come up for or against this project? Anybody from the public would like to come up? He's seeing none. Anybody, any hands raised?
There we
Okay, come on up. Yep, name and address, please, for the record.
Hillary Lima, 31 Edward Street. So, yes. So forgive me, I wasn't at the first meeting about this. So I'm just trying to understand where on Center New England is. I take it this is on the other side off of. Okay. And you, okay, and you do you have any residential homes in the back of this? Okay. I get nervous. I have PTSD from what we've dealt with some drainage issues with other developments. And I saw a presentation with a pipe and water, and I just want to make sure that whatever is happening here wouldn't affect any residents. But that was my only question.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Seeing none. Anybody, any hands up on Zoom? Can you, anybody on Zoom, would you like to raise their hand, please, if you have any remarks on this project? Nothing. Okay, I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
I will make a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Mr. Burke makes the motion to close. Mr. Clunian makes the second. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion, public hearing is closed. Okay, any other questions by the board for the applicant?
I do, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Anderson.
Just, this, I looked for it. I can't find it. You said it was there. Some of the signage. you're gonna have a sign?
Sign, it's like stop sign.
No, like the building sign. What's it gonna be like? With the advertisement, Steve's Bouncy House. You have a sign like you're gonna put on the road, or you gonna be lit anywhere? Is this gonna be against the building?
Probably against the building.
Okay. And not so much illuminated. We're just gonna hit. Okay.
We don't have customers coming out to the site.
Right.
Really not. It's more internet.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I was looking at the closest houses. They would have a line shot of something that just might not be sexy, right? Yeah. Okay.
It's not necessary. It's against
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I just had a
Go ahead.
question. So there's two large warehouse structures. They have overhead doors, quite a few overhead doors. Is that all? You need all those overhead doors for operations? I mean, I saw the delivery area kind of off to the side. The trucks back up, they drive in. Is it?
Yeah, they don't drive in, but you really need them in order to where you end up putting units and tents, et cetera. You need the backup.
Right. So do you anticipate filling those buildings all the way? Like
We
this?
do, yeah.
Okay.
We had a very small. tent.
Yeah, we were pushing the limit with what we had pre-COVID, and so.
Yeah. No. I just asked because I wanted to make sure it wasn't a situation where, well, we're going to use one for now. We'll see how it goes. And then maybe we'll have to rent the other one out. So you don't have any intention of having any third party rentals, storage, or anything else on your property. That's totally for your operation,
It is.
and the rest of it's there. And are you subject to, I think the engineer touched on it. Your part, that's a private road in there. That's part of a condominium, right? Those are lot condominiums in there. There's an association. So in other words, you have to adhere to all their rules and regulations, whatever they have, CAM charges and everything else. And then my other question is maybe for the staff, does the town engineer review all those drainage calculations and all that other stuff that was submitted, or is that solely on them?
Yeah, so part of the review process, the town engineer does review the project, and any comments that he had were encapsulated into the director's or the staff report. So
Okay. I didn't see anything that stood out. So
No.
it seems okay, right?
I will take his word for it.
Well, that's what I meant. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Rick. Anybody else?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I just want to make sure that you guys can see the planners director's report. You get the same thing we do. All right. So, there's some of the things you've made good on already, and between the certain approvals and stipulations you're aware of. Okay. I just want to make sure. Makes the motion quicker.
Anybody else from the board have any questions? Yeah, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion if you'll have it.
Go ahead, Ms. Nancy.
Thanks. So a motion to approve the development plan application for Steve's Bounce House. Owner applicant is P&R Properties LLC. This is AP 5 lot 14-2 zone BP. Lot size is 1.4 acres. It's now vacant land. As we discussed, proposes to construct the criteria in front of us, 3 buildings with associated parking and landscaping to accommodate this commercial business. I just want to note, we just spoke about, eventual needed approvals going forward in the, on page 4 of the director's report. I'd also like to note that, make sure we follow through on the stipulations that are discussed, listed in the director's report on page 8 and 9. You already looked at them. We already discussed it. And just to include that, we're going to grant the waiver for the 24 spaces instead of the required 37, as it was explained to us. And, as a criteria, we like to throw a couple findings of facts out there. And as far as proposed with the comprehensive town comprehensive plan, the comments here, the comprehensive plan does describe the business park zone as one that should be primarily used for retail service, office, light industrial development with incidental retail and services integral to the overall development. This proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan in those regards. And just one more, and that's the project will not have significant negative impact to the environment. So I think it's important that we at least list those two. And just include the director's report in my motion.
How about final administrative?
And I'd also like to move this to final administration from here.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second it.
I have a second by Mr. Reyes. Any discussion? Hearing none, because this is a public hearing, I'm going to do a roll call vote on this. Mr. Kinney,
Here. Okay.
Mr. Burke. Is that a yes, Mr. Kennedy?
Yay.
Yay. Mr. Burke? Yay. Mr. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mrs. Elderkin?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah.
Mr. Clunian?
Yes.
Chairman Flynn also says yes. Motion carries.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
Good
for
luck.
doing business with Coventry. Yeah. I'll make sure. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, 10.3 public hearing preliminary plan for Hopkins Hollow Estates, owner Camp Green Association, River Point AC Church, applicant John W. Studley III, proposed major residential 7-lot cluster subdivision, AP 308, Lot 28, Zone RR5. Address is 323 Hopkins Hollow Road. Mr. Cronin.
Borrowing some real estate from Mr. D'Agostino. Thomas Cronin, 1070 Main Street, Coventry, Rhode Island, for the owner and applicant. We're here for a preliminary, which is our third hearing before this board. And I don't want it to be redundant, but there are some different members on the board. So I'm going to review the concept of the project briefly and then turn it over to Sam Swarsa to discuss the site design, which is, as the board is well aware, the purpose of the preliminary plan hearing. So 323 Hopkins Hollow Road in Green is the former Camp Green. AP 308, Lot 28, zoned RR5. It's 40.8 acres. We had master plan approval before this board February 9th, 2022 for a 7-lot cluster subdivision and 1 lot of open space. The 7 lots are conforming with the cluster development regulations and no zoning relief will be required for this project. The area is currently mostly forested. There are several old camp buildings to be demolished as part of this proposal. 7 street front lots will be used for single-family homes, and each will have frontage on Hopkins Hollow Road. Each of the single-family homes will be serviced by OWTS and a well water individual to each home. The open space created by the cluster will be owned by the homeowners association. In other words, owned by an association of the homeowners of the 7 street front lots. The proposed open space is 20.42 acres. It'll be deed restricted. In other words, it'll never be developed by deed. Be subject to maintenance, insurance, taxation through the homeowners association. Hopefully we'll work out the taxation so 1/7 of the total tax goes to each homeowner, saves a lot of headaches in the long run. We're not quite there yet. It's a residential use in a residential area. As this board is well aware, a residential cluster development means that we have homes that are concentrated on a portion of the lot with reduced requirements for each house lot and reduced zoning setbacks. And the area gained by reducing or concentrating these areas is set aside for open space conservation in this case. About 20 acres of the 40 acres will be set aside for open space, just under 50%. The number of houses that you can build in a residential cluster formation is determined by a density analysis or yield plan, which was presented to you at master plan, which showed that we could build 7 conventional lots on a loop road conforming with the 5-acre requirements and setbacks. We presented evidence at that time that the residential cluster was the superior use of this land, allowing for conservation for just about half of the land. Mr. Swasser is gonna go over the site design with you, and I don't want to be redundant, but I'll be available to answer any questions with regard to the cluster or the concept at the end of his testimony. One thing I would like to not forget is that we would request final administratively if the board saw fit to grant us preliminary tonight. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Swasser for the site design, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Thank you, Mr. Cronin. Name and address, please.
Sam Swarsa, Coventry Survey Company, 46 South Main Street, Coventry, Rhode Island. So Mr. Cronin hit some of these points, but I'm just going to run through real quick. AP 308, lot 28, coming out with about 41.4 acres. The site's on the west side of Hopkins Hollow Road in Green. There's some fairly gentle topography sloping down towards Hopkins Hollow Road. The site's mostly wooded with some existing buildings in disrepair. The soil's poorly drained with a 2-foot water table throughout this site. Proposing 7-lot frontage cluster subdivision with about 50% open space at the rear of the parcel. The open space will remain in ownership of the HOA. Each of these 7 lots will be roughly 3 acres, and they're going to be serviced by private well, outs, and stormwater collection structures. We've received subdivision suitability and RIDOT permits. The proposed driveway, each of the proposed driveways will have a culvert running under it at Hopkins Hollow Road to keep with the existing swale flow along the road. We have a 50-foot proposed frontage buffer to protect the trees along the road. This will buffer. This buffer will be written into the HOA documents of the subdivision. And we're still in the process of working with the fire marshal on fire suppression requirements. And that's pretty much it at this point. I'll turn it back over to the board.
Any questions from the board? Go ahead, Rick.
I have a few questions. So the 50-foot buffer that you just referenced along the road, right? So that's woods that's going to remain with the exception of where the driveway openings are.
Yeah, basically it would be driveway and any kind of drainage structure associated with the driveway that's needed.
Right. So so for example, each one of these lots has approximately 160 feet of frontage, right?
Yeah.
And then, so how much of that 160 feet would you assume would be at the maximum cleared for the driveway in and out and the culvert?
It looks to be, I would say, less than 1/3 will be cleared of the.
I guess what I'm saying is it's the width of the driveway plus an adequate space on either side. So what do you figure, 50 feet maybe maximum?
Yeah, I would say 50 feet max. There's also going to have to be a pole for either each lot or each two lots.
For
on that side
utilities?
For utilities, yeah.
Okay. And 2-foot water table, the soil suitability has been submitted, but no design for the on-site wastewater treatment system, but you're pretty confident you can get them all in?
Yeah, subdivision suitability didn't have many comments. We're meeting all the requirements. So.
Okay. I think that's it for now.
Okay.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, Sammy, so all of the stormwater or runoff is going to be contained to the lots with some sort of rain gardens or drainage that's going to stay on the lots for each lot?
Yeah, we use the CRMC stormwater manual. Art Cripps was the engineer for the project. And so, yeah, we have basically for all the driveways, they're swales, and for the rooftop, they're dry wells.
Okay, so the driveway is pervious. Is that the plan? So you can absorb water, not run off?
Yeah, we're proposing like pavement on the driveway.
You're gonna put in pervious.
So it's going to be impervious with
Yeah.
swales on each side.
Right.
Yeah.
So the swales will catch the runoff off the driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not going to run back towards the state road.
No, it should all catch within these swales and then slowly seep
Into the ground.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sam. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead, Mr. Burke.
Sam, you mentioned poles, so utilities will not be underground?
So we'll have one pole, the utility poles existing on Hopkins Hollow are on the other side of the road. So we'll have to cross the road
Okay.
either with each lot or with every, one per every two lots. And then like the driveway and septic system, which is, I would say, 20 feet or so outside of the existing 50-foot buffer.
Okay.
So I don't think if we did increase it, you start kind of getting into more clearing. The clearing kind of bellies out from the 50 feet.
Okay.
So I don't think the developer would be against it, but it would be less,
I understand.
there's going to be more clearing within it. Yeah.
Okay. That's all I have.
Anybody else? And go ahead and stand.
Not sure who this question is for, but I just want an understanding on the conventional yield, right? You don't need any relief with that. It belongs RR5, everyone, 7 houses, right? Gets their 5 acres. There's benefits to that, in my opinion, because it's cut and dry. But there's benefits to the open space with the residential cluster development, because it's the same amount of houses, right? 7. Open space is open space. No one's going to fence in 5 acres. So wilderness will be allowed to do their thing. I just need clarification on, other than I understand we got to put in the street, right? More non-permeable, and you can describe it better than me. Detrimental, say, to the landscape itself. So could you just clarify why the conventional yield plan, other than I can imagine it's more costly, but why is an improvement to do the residential cluster the way we're doing it, and just why? Because we're just shrinking the lot sizes, and I do appreciate the 3 acres because what you're doing here, other than you could get 6 4-acre houses and still be within the 40% open space. I just want to put that out there if my math is right. Less density is best. No density at all is perfect. Right. But we're well within the comp. We're all within the comp plan on both ends. I just want clarification why this is better.
Well, I came up because I provided this information at master plan, and I didn't want to put Sam on the spot. I apologize. Sure. So the advantages, design and planning wise, is really the road, as you pointed out, Mr. Anderson, right? A town road requires a 40-foot right of way, 26 feet of pavement, although you regularly allow us to go a little shorter than that, but a good, at least 24 sidewalk on one side. It's a ton of impervious surface. And in addition to that, in this particular setting, we're talking about 2 road openings, which are at least 50-foot right of way, street sign, stop sign, not exactly fitting with the area kind of. It seemed like it would be intensifying things a little bit, creating these intersections, with that kind of road striping and things like that. So really, those were the 2 major considerations that I presented to the board, where the road be great, much greater, both the way it looked and the drainage issues that you raised would be far greater. We'd have to catch a far greater amount of water coming off of that road and keep it on site. And I don't know where that would drive us exactly. And the other thing was just the design of adding, entries, wide entryways, stop signs, road striping, those kind of elements in that area didn't seem like a good fit.
Thank you.
And Mr. Cronin also, I think, by not doing the yield plan and doing the 7 street frontage lots, we're preserving the 40 acres plus. And I think,
About 20, yeah.
yeah,
20 of the 40. Yeah, Mr.
20
Anderson,
of 40. So 50% of it is being preserved as non-cut and no further development. And I think that kind of speaks to the comp plan for that area. We try to keep it, and believe me, we listen to the people in the rural areas. They want to keep it as rural as possible.
Okay.
And I think that's what we tried to do here.
I didn't bring that one up because Mr. Anderson actually gave me a break on that one and let me have that. So
If I could just add to that
Go ahead,
also,
Rick.
I know one of the reasons I favored this plan, there were actually 2 that I can think of right away. One is all the things that Mr. Cronin just mentioned, to try to contain that stormwater on site within those lots under the yield plan would have resulted in additional vegetation being removed to create stormwater detention basins. And then the other thing that comes to mind is currently that's a state road. All these lots are going to front on a state road. If we went with the conventional, that would have been an additional road that the town was going to have to maintain for garbage pickup, snow removal, and all the other maintenance and liability responsibilities that go with it. Whereas now that is all remains with the state. So both of those factors were why we went to that. But Mr. Cronin, as long as you're up there, I do have one question.
almost made it to my seat.
Well, I know there was a concern about preserving the open space. And while we're on the topic, I noticed that each one of these lots is 825 feet deep. And then we've got the 20 acres to the rear. But it seems like the house lots and all of the infrastructure that's shown, and even with it double extended backyard, I can't see where these homeowners would realistically need more than 400 or 500 feet back from Hopkins Hollow Road. And they've already got 50-foot. I just wondered if there was any possibility, maybe just to sweeten the pot a little bit, to put in like 100-foot no-cut buffer along the back of all of these lots. They'd still be individually owned, but they would have to be remain wooded to butt up against the open space. And that serves 2 purposes, not only the preservation, but it also kind of keeps the homeowners from going back there and encroaching on the homeowners association lot, which is often done in some of these subdivisions. So, I mean, 100 feet times all of that frontage, I tried to do some quick math, but I want to say it's probably another 4 or 5 acres of open space that will be tacked on to the 20 acres. So I'm just throwing it out there for discussion. This is a public hearing. We can hear what the residents have to say, but it was just a thought.
Sure. I don't think that the developer would be adverse to that. We had kept the lots around the 3 acre mark, really in sensitivity to the neighborhood and the area. We don't want to go too small, right? It's green and,
Yeah.
But what you're saying is don't shrink the lots, increase the buffer.
No, I was saying put a no-cut easement on each of the
one,
lots.
right,
So
yeah.
they would all own it individually. It wouldn't be part of the homeowners association. They can still go back there if they want. They just can't clear cut trees back there or disturb the forestry so that it kind of preserves it more in perpetuity.
It seems like an acceptable compromise.
And then we still
to
keep
shrinking
it,
the lot.
and you still meet your cluster requirements because we're not diminishing the lot size from the 3 acres. That was originally approved at Mass.
So just to be clear for my own, I just want to, we'll get away from the engineering talk for a minute. We're talking about the back line, 100 feet from the back line of each one of these
Each
lots.
lot, right.
Okay. Just want to make sure I got it.
Good point, Rick. I like that.
So they still own it. It's still 3 acres plus each lot, but the last 100 feet, they cannot cut it. That's all.
So there's a no cut in the front and a no cut in the back.
You're going to let them have the middle?
Yeah,
Okay.
we got to give you some room. But, I'm sure everybody would want to have nothing in the middle, but
A good idea.
that is a good idea.
Yeah.
So that's less forest cut.
Go ahead.
Anybody else have any questions?
Just to follow up, Mr. Chair, just so I lay my head down tonight. You could, I think, your words, you wanted to minimize as much as you could for District 1, keep them with the rural character. And that was the vision. That's the vision of that comp plan. You could, I did the math. I mean, you could fit 6 4-acre houses there, and I still think be within the 40% open space. It's we're splitting hairs, but I think it's there. And what I'm putting it out there because we're putting a lot out there, and it's just more to your point. It'd just be less.
I can't agree to that, Mr. Anderson. I appreciate your point.
Yep.
But we've presented a conforming plan, meets the character of the neighborhood, maybe not perfectly, but complies with the regs at least.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cronin. Is there anybody else before I open up public hearing? Okay, before I open up public hearing, I'm going to start on the left. Everybody will have the opportunity to speak. If you agree with somebody, just come up and say, I agree. We'll try to eliminate the redundancy. I understand the why you're all here, and I appreciate that. And I always let everybody speak. So saying that, did I have a motion to open up public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Kenny. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Mr. Reyes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is now open. Mr. Cronin, get your yellow notebook out. Okay. Sure. Okay, anybody in the public would like to come up and speak against this project? Come on up, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Robert Thornton, 397 Hopkins Hollow Road. I'm going to need to go over there to explain it a little closer.
Sure.
All right. First of all, the culvert you're talking about, wastewater that he's talking about, the state owns this road. This culvert runs from here all the way down, right to just before my house. My house is down here at Hopkins Hollow. Okay. This hasn't been maintained for over 25 years, 26 years that I've lived there. Same leaves that are in there. And when I moved in 1996, it's still there. So your water runoff that he's talking about and your swells, that's not going to happen. The angle of this from here to here, in the middle of these plots, from here down to here, is at least 2% grade. Okay. The first plot that they proposed was a culvert that comes in here. As far as the town maintenance and liability, I'd like to say this about town economy, respectively. The people who live in Western Coventry, we get one service. We get this recycling and we get garbage. That's what we get. We get the snow removal. So with respect to making this culvert and liability on Coventry, another thing, everything west of 102, there's no recreational facilities for Coventry residents. None that this town provides. None. Anyone in Western Coventry, they want to travel, they go to recreational facility, they go past 102. That's why I proposed the bike path parking lot in here with one culvert going in here and 20 spaces. You've got an access to egress through eminent domain from the state of Rhode Island. Instead of parking down here where Benefit Street is, where the bike path is just going to come through, you put the bike path parking right in here with your access and egress. No, excuse me. You had your minute. All right, well, listen, when you have this, it's a parking area right where the cafeteria is. They're not going to give you 50 feet or 100 feet of buffer. They're going to have to clear cut this in order to put a retention pond. You can't have any trees or structure. You have to clear that, and you have to make the retention pond. So with this culvert being here, no matter what they tell you about the wastewater, unless this is handled by the state, and each one of these culvert pipes that cross the road here, on each one of these entrances from Camp Green Street, there's one here in between the cafeteria, then there's one with the old green school up. If you don't maintain that and get the state to handle this risk, no matter what they tell you about construction, that water is going to run down this grade and get to here and get to the street. The person who lives in the corner right here complained the last time because the culvert pipe comes around, it ends right here. This water rushes across the Hollow Road, hits his driveway and dumps on this side of the river. There is no plan in his proposal to handle the culvert pipe. Okay, the state owns the culvert pipe. In order for you to do construction here, and DEM should be called in on this, because in this lot right here is water that percolates out of the soil. So how you pass the soil test in that area is beyond me. There's topical water right here, groundwater that's coming out. You're going to have to do two things. You're going to have to bring the upgrade here, like he's talking about, to bring the grade up, to bring the pitch down. It's the soil retention. And to talk about environmental impact, I've lived here for 26 years. I live right here. My land, my house, old green schoolhouse. That building is gonna be moved in here in the 80s. That's gonna be destroyed. Okay? You're taking all the history, I took on environmental living. In here, you have every type of bird of prey in Rhode Island and the Northeast that harbors itself right in this area. If you're gonna come in, you're gonna destroy this. And I appreciate you, sir, saying 6 4 acres. But here, if you look at this, none of the middle is being utilized. Why? Why is the septic system, well system in the front is gonna be right here? You're not doing anybody any favors. Talk about driveways. You took 2 driveways, cul-de-sac, right here. And then you put 7 in. Water flows down the driveway 7 times faster than 2. If you get 7 driveways. So the plan he's talking about is not true to the point of what you have here, okay? Also, environmentally, if you don't change this, no matter what sways you have here, the people that live on this side of the road are gonna get the water that comes flying out of the driveway and it's going in their driveway. And another thing, when the gentleman lives in this house over here, the state has when this culvert comes down, the state put a backpipe. A backpipe means when it backs up right here, it flows backwards underneath this property. That's what's going on right now. It hasn't been cleaned in so long that every time we get a storm, this gentleman in this area right in here across the street, this water backs up and goes right into this area, right where he's got a tree, and shoots right across the property. And like I said, environmentally, you lose. There's the barred owl, you've got the Broadway Hawk, the pileated woodpecker. You've got everything that's going to get 25 years since this place is going to be in. And now you're going to
Excuse me, I will call everybody for public hearing. Can you just let the gentleman speak, please?
So
Thank you.
the town of Compton needs to take a comprehensive look at how much destruction you're doing in these clusters. I'm not calling remove. That other gentleman said in 1.6 acres, kind of 17 buildings. If you do the math here, the average American has 2 people in his family. That's 14 people, 2 cars in each driveway, 7. That's 14 cars, 2.3 kids. There's another 14 kids. And you're talking about the road. There's 7 driveways here. What stop sign? You're gonna put a stop sign here and a stop sign here for a cone. 7 times 2, 7 is worse than 2. You did this like this gentleman said, and you came up in here. I don't want you to do anything. I really don't. That's just, you come up in here and you do your cul-de-sac. You're over here, you're gonna chew up all this land. That's fine. You're gonna ruin it anyway. This isn't gonna work. I'll tell you what, we're already being approached from this side, and it's being approached from this side. My suggestion is make sure the town of Compton, and respectively everyone on the board and everyone in here, you need to listen to the residents better about what's going on. This looks good on paper. I can guarantee you, nobody in this room walks this place more than me. It never has. Nobody walked through it on their walkthroughs. They missed the thing. If you walk through here, you have a perfect area for Western Coventry to do a very little thing with the state. You eliminate his plan. You take out the cafeteria that's located right in here. There's a driveway right here. You increase the driveway and improve. The state will do it. It's a state work. This will become a state parking lot for 15 cars. Right in through here, you can put a eminent domain access and egress right to where benefits become across the green bikeway with no cost to Coventry because it's a federal project. And right in here, as you pass through these old abandoned buildings he's talking about, the tabernacles right in here, there's a natural road that they cleared years ago. That the Christians and the Christians just used that comes in here. This was a baseball field. Okay? Not anymore. It's a pine. The state comes in, they put one small path right here. Right up, open up this path, you put it right on here as a walking field. Go on the dusk curfew, town feeling that there's no state road, state property, state police get called. You'll save thousands of dollars on this particular area. You won't have to do a thing. And you also save all of this. Because Coventry doesn't need this. There's 2 lots on Route 3. Right across from the Dollar Tree, that's abandoned, they're using it for hay feed. Then you get down the road next to that cigar place, there's more spots. This guy's building up spots everywhere in the western part of Coventry. We have no services out there. You cannot take your children anywhere unless you go to school or somewhere else that Coventry provides for recreation for the western end citizens. And the environmental impact, forget it. I can guarantee you, if you took a walk, not only post, EM, and waiting for U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, there's another thing. I don't think you know it. It's a nesting area. You got one bird of prey, one, be it a barred owl, be it any bird, American kestrel, or broad-winged hawk, that puts a nest in here, and he takes a tree down. I can guarantee you I'll call for fish and wildlife. This is a protected area that you people have let go for 25 years. I suggest that you strongly look at this. The environmental impact. People across the street here and wish they were here, maybe they are. Yeah, lights. Traffic, don't worry about that. Hopkins Hollow right now is a speed race. When I call the Coventry Police, what's your name? John Q. Public, we have a speed trap over here. Without 14 more cars, I suggest you really take a better look at this plan. Because this is not a cluster plan, it's a different word, something that I certainly won't. Respected. Because if you keep jamming these clusters into the western part of Coventry, you have subdivided the entire section of Coventry into these little things. First of all, my concern is, like my neighbor said, not only the wells, septic. Above ground. You know what above ground septic is? That's the plan. You know what that is? No, you don't know what that is. Plus, here's the thing. Water table is too high, 2 feet, you can't put a septic in the ground. You're gonna build an above ground septic system, which means it comes up here, it's 3 feet by the amount of dimensions it needs for the amount of bathrooms. Are these gonna be 3 bedrooms or 2? They're 3 bedroom, that's 150 gallons per person. Right? That's 450 gallons. 450 gallons going to septic by septic. One day. You gotta look at this. If DEM isn't involved, mark my words, I'll quote, because how you're gonna get a permit to build a house on top of percolated water, beyond me, I don't care how much soil you got. And what type of septic? They haven't come up with that. How can you go from a master plan being approved? No disrespect, it's not developed, the need of the state. You don't know what the type of septic system. Where's this gonna go? I'll tell you where it's gonna go. If you can't put it in the ground, it's gonna sit above the ground. If you don't believe me, just take a ride to South County. Any house along the beach that's in a wetland area where there's high water table, you cannot put a septic in the ground, you put it above. You don't have a plan, you don't understand the plan, how can you go forward? They haven't given you, in my opinion, enough information in this close primary plan, preliminary plan. Preliminary plan, in my opinion, what are you putting in the ground? There's your environmental impact. What are you taking out of the ground? How much structure are you gonna remove? Is he gonna clear cut this? Is this area that this house is gonna go and be clear cut? You know what clear cutting is? That's my question, I'm not trying to get smart.
I know what clear cut
Okay,
is.
so if you're looking, it's this area to put everything in. Now, when you talk about groundwater, if this hasn't been repaired in your culvert, and they haven't properly put all the straw and everything around that to stop the water, everybody that lives across the street in here is gonna be affected. Still haven't fixed it before right there. As I mentioned before, Coventry wants to bring people into Coventry. You're not gonna bring them in this way. Here's my opinion. The tax base was based on this. The solar farm, I didn't want. I don't want this either. I would have taken the solar farm right in here. You know why? Going out of here, 14 people screaming. I wouldn't have listened to 14 people drive a car. I wouldn't have do lights, camera, septic, soil, and everything else. Before you start approving these plans, I don't know how the guy's gonna get 17 buildings in 1 point something acre lot. It's plus development. I'd like you to really take a look at this up here, like by Boston, Redfield. So this is gonna have more of an environment. It's the streets. It's his job. I'm gonna put the culvert in, all of it should be underground. You know, one sign here, one sign here. You're gonna kill the Western Coventry, really up. And you talk about these, this last person that has this driveway, good luck getting out. I lived here for 25, this is a horror story. The speed that goes from here to here, they go 55 to 60 miles an hour. That's why the state put all those crazy corner signs here. There's been 3 crashes right here. One fatal. It was just one a few months ago. The one guy flipped his car over right here next to my neighbors when he went up the guide pole, and you want to go 7 more houses there. I suggest you either do 2 things. Find out how much more police presence you can possibly get along Hopkins Hollow Road in a very, very quick amount of time. When I call the police for a domestic fight that was happening on the road, 11 minutes. Then I take all this police response. These people might be from the city. They're not used to living out yet. 10 miles to go to the grocery store, 10 miles to go to the gas station. They don't want you there right away. They don't want to know why you didn't show up. Fire department, where are they? They're down on 102. Here's another thing. I mentioned last time about that solar project. When you increase the popularity of the general area is only based on the amount of firemen that you have in that area that you play it on. You got 7 firemen in that district based on the amount of people in that area and the amount of trucks they have. The more you increase the population in the area, you need to increase the fire and police department to cover that area. Is out here where we live. You call the cops, they're not coming. I better I'll call the state police. State police live right up Plain Indian House Road. I really suggested the town, respectively, and everybody on the board, really look at this. It's not in my backyard. What are the damages? Not to the people there, but the people, what are the damages you want? If it's a preliminary plan, in my opinion, you need a lot more than what he gave you. I want to know what the septic looks like. I want you to tell me what it looks like. If you did a soil analysis, you'd be able to base it on that. But he's not telling you. How far the well's going down? Mine's 400 feet. How far are these going to go? These could go down a grade like this. My house is here. This Hopkins Hollow pitches this way. How far are they going? We're also exponentially increasing the amount of water that's going to be used. Basically, most people that don't live in Western property and live on a well don't understand the shit way. They can go anchor on that top one, just keep on going out. Doesn't happen. That's my suggestion. I think I'm going to say it one more time and I'll get out. Take a really good look at these plans before you even pass them along as far as the preliminary. You need to really look at what's the problem. How is the power getting to this? How are you going to get at one pole? Never gets, renewable energy is not going to let you not clear around that pole. You're going to clear 10, 15, 20 feet around each pole. They're going to require you to clear the trees around that pole. They're not going to let you. That's why these in-depth studies that they do preliminary, they should be a lot more in-depth. If you present to projects, my opinion of the board, you should know everything. What do you mean you don't know what type of septic system is? What do you mean you don't know what type of water is? That's what we need to know. Because they're going to rip this place apart. I appreciate you saying 3,500 feet. That's great. But the heck ain't people move back further? I don't know. That's just things to think about. Because everybody in this room can have something to say about it. Sure. And I think you really need to get past this master plan. I think the master plan was proven to snap. Everybody in the room is part of this. Really good. Take a walk. Go in campaign. What the other thing? The resume is that. Who's the owner? It says campaign, right? So campaign still owns this building, doesn't own this? Is that correct? Well, wait a minute. Well, here's where I'm confused.
Mr. Cronin will answer all your questions.
Okay, Mr. Cronin, who owns campaign owners?
If when you wrap it up, I'm going to have him answer your questions.
That's what I would need to know because that's a conflict in itself because it says the owner, it's campaign. So the campaign should have some type of input unless Mr. Studley already owns land and Mr. Studley owns. Why does it say owner? I mean, he's the applicant. Who owns the land?
We'll let the Attorney Cronin answer. Thank you for your comments. Mr. Cronin? Come on up, Mr. Cronin.
You know, if you wanted to wait.
Well, there was so much involved in what that gentleman said. I just figured you could touch base on.
Okay. Sure.
So that way, if there's any other people in the audience that have the same comments, you'll have the answers for them.
Okay. I don't know that I can cover all of that, Mr. Chairman, but
I know the state road. I know you don't.
So,
have any.
well, the driveway culverts that are being proposed, right? Those can be included in this cluster development homeowners association requirements. So we can demand that the owners of those houses clean and maintain those culverts. I'm not an engineer. I don't know the timeline, but say on a quarterly basis or, whatever, you are well aware, and Mr. Clooney, I don't want to step on Mr. Clooney's toes at all, but what happens on the state road is a little out of our mandate. The folks that live there can do what they want with regard to the swale and the culvert, but the ones that we're going to construct underneath the driveways, we do have control over those, and we can include language that requires the maintenance of those, and we'd be more than willing to do that. That's, to the extent we can.
Could I just, I'm sorry to interrupt, but just are in fact the ends of the driveways with the cross culvert on the lot or within the state right of way?
They're within the state right of way.
Okay.
The existing roadway culvert?
No, I mean, I would assume, and it could be a bad assumption, but based on what I saw in these plans, there's basically, you're rebuilding the swale all the way along, all of the frontage on the state right of way. You needed that to get your permit from them, and they approved the cross culverts to be put on their property.
Yeah, so most of the culverts, I think all the culverts are on our property. They're very close to the road line, but they are on our
Okay,
property.
that's what I wanted
And
to
the
find out.
existing swale is some in the state and some on our property. So when they dug this, because of the width of the
Right.
road is, so
Right.
great. So
So you're going to rebuild basically that swale all the way along the road at the state. To get your permit, you needed to kind of keep that flow and put the cross culverts in for each driveway. It's not like you're going to put a cross culvert in each driveway and say, I don't care what happens in between.
yeah, the distance where the spot where we put the culvert, it's going to be like 20 feet of culvert.
Yeah.
That will all have to be cleaned out, dug down, and then the culvert will be properly placed. So it continues pitch for the wastewater flow or for the stormwater flow. So when, but we weren't really proposing to clean out the whole.
The swale
length
along
of
the
the
road,
road.
they didn't ask you to do that. I was just asking. Okay. I just wanted to get
sure
that
that's
clarified.
something that, the developer would probably do just to clean things up, but it's not like
Right.
they
Okay.
told us to
I'll
do
let,
that.
I just wanted to find out for sure
just be
before
with-
Mr. Cronin got too far down the
Yeah.
pike and mandated that someone do work on state property on a regular basis.
Okay, so just to clarify, I understand that the driveway culverts are on our property and we can demand that those be maintained in the legal documents that we prepare and submit, and that will be recorded in the town hall. We'll do what's necessary for the state permit, as you have suggested. Whether I can't mandate that the state maintain that, and I can't mandate that the homeowners maintain that. We can do our best during construction to improve it. And then, we can mandate that the driveway culverts be maintained. That's my effort to address that issue. As far as the DEM, so the board is well aware. I've stood up here on many an evening explaining the net drainage rules of the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management. So in this case, we have a superior setup with regard to each lot. So not only will we have to constrain the runoff from the entire property, right? Now we're talking about each of these lots has to maintain their own drainage. So each lot will have net zero increase in runoff. So it won't be just on the whole 40-acre parcel. It'll be on each individual lot. So I think that's a more restrictive approach that we're volunteering. Well, the DEM is volunteering us to take this approach. So, that will be true, right? We will have no net increase in runoff from each one of these lots. So whatever we need to do to accomplish that, DEM and the engineers work that out, but that's the end result. So that, some of the other topics, Mr. Chairman, with regard to the recreational facilities and what the federal government and the state of Rhode Island might do for recreation out there. This lot has been vacant for many years. I'm not aware of any activity in that area. I don't know that, I don't have any authority to comment on that at all. So I guess I'll just have to leave it at that. In regards to the ownership of the property, as this board is well aware, there has to be at a minimum a contractual agreement for control between the owner and the applicant. In this case, a purchase and sales agreement contingent upon approvals from the state of Rhode Island, the town of Coventry. I was going to say Narragansett Electric. That was a couple companies ago. Rhode Island Energy, right? And so that's where that stands. There's a contractual agreement between the church and Mr. Studley. So I can't address the speeding. I don't have any response to the response times of the police out there. If I missed something that I can address, please point it out to me.
He brought up septic design. Can you touch base on the septic design, Sam?
Yeah, that's.
And also the wells were also asked.
Yeah, so I'll start with the well. we don't propose in any kind of submission to the state how deep a well will go. That will be proposed the location of the well. And then when the well gets drilled, that is when it gets determined on what's the depth, you know. And we do have subdivision suitability with the state so that they look at all the septic information. So we are proposing Elgin in drains for each lot. We have 4-bedroom houses, 1,500 gallon septic tanks, and they're like 28 to 32 Elgin in drains to control the wastewater. They are, since we have the 2-foot water table, the bottom of the Elgin system will be about a foot above the existing ground. But then we're going to fill above the Elgin unit. So it will be at the end underground. So we're proposing fill above the system. So that's it pretty much for the septic
So
system.
it'll be a conventional septic
It's
system.
conventional septic. Yeah. Gravity flow. Yeah. It's going to be fill in the front of the house, walk out in the back. That's how the houses will be laid out.
Rick?
Yeah, and just what I know there was some concern about the runoff, and I think it's difficult to see on that plan right there, but those darker lines along the driveway and those they look like contour lines. Those are basically the driveways and the roof drains. That's all been designed to catch and treat that stormwater on the property. In other words, the water's not going to flow down the driveway into the culvert that's along the road or into the street. It has to be contained. And that's the way that you've got this pitched. Again, I know these are very small prints. It's even smaller up there, but that's what all those little contour lines are. And the darker areas are actually swales along the driveway to catch the water. In other words, they don't necessarily have to pitch it down towards the street. You could pitch it sideways.
Right.
The rain is going to catch it on the property as opposed to it running into the street. Is that
so
the plan?
The swales are on the low side of the driveway. We'll pitch the driveway towards the swales. So the water will run kind of kitty corner off the driveway,
And-
not parallel.
Right.
with the driveway.
And that's kind of how mine is. So where are we at with the stormwater permit? Has DEM seen and approved these yet or?
DEM approved the subdivision suitability that looks at the drainage, and we went to DOT. So we haven't gone to RIPDs yet, but we're in the process of doing that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Come on up. Name and address for the record, please.
Stacy Harrington, 410 Hopkins Hollow Road. Here's my husband, Don, my brother, my neighbor. All these people live in our little village. And I believe the very crux of the problem is it does not go with the comprehensive plan of a rural community to stick 7 houses, boom, 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 on this beautiful country road. We all live there because we like living in the country. We like living in the country. It's a hassle, but we do it because that's where we want to be. 7 houses, 7 driveways, 7 telephone posts, 7 mailboxes, 7 sets of the recycle and the garbage. 14 to 20 more cars. They're 4-bedroom homes. They're going to be older kids living in them with cars. It's on that horrible, horrible corner that people have died on. It is a safety concern. So the school bus is going to come up and make 7 stops and 7 extra stops, and garbage truck is going to come up and make 7 extra stops, and never mind all the deer and the owls that Bob were talking about. It just in any way, shape, or form, it doesn't match the neighborhood. The other houses on the other side, we are on smaller lots, all right around 3 acres, but our road frontage is twice as much as theirs, 3 times as much. They're all pushed in and crowded, and it's gonna It's gonna wreck our little rural village of Green.
Hold on 1 minute. Hold on one. You can come up if she's done. Are you done? Okay. Just name and address for the record.
410 Hopkins Hollow. Don. I agree.
I hope
disagree
I
with
didn't cut
Mr.
you short. Okay. Okay.
I have to disagree with Mr. Cronin's opinion that 7 driveways is better than one road that loops in and out. I don't understand his thinking. You got 7 people trying to come out of 7 different spots. And if they do, we do have to go with a U-shaped road and cut down the house amounts to 5 or whatever it is. It should be a one-way. Not having 2 places looking for so close together, like people trying to look for 2 spots, people might be coming out instead of 1.
I know we elected this to go with this plan to preserve the forest there. If you go with the yield plan and put the cul-de-sac in, I don't think that fits in that area.
I don't know.
That's my
Do you
opinion.
think that
I think the
7
street
houses
front,
fits
I
better?
think the street frontage lots, we spent a lot of time on this. In my opinion, with the other 8 board members was with the no cut buffer, we've actually added another no cut buffer in back. We're trying to preserve the forest so they don't clear cut. We know what clear cut is. But I really appreciate you coming up and giving your point.
we, I don't think there's any people here that are up here to support this plan. And thank you
I'm
for
not
your time.
expecting him. Thank you so much. Come on up, sir. Name and address, please, for the record.
Ed Cole, Ed, yes. Cole, COLE, 1172 Plainfield Pike. I have some concerns with this plan. As a builder, as an excavator, working on these projects, and as a resident of Green. That corner, how the state ever approved driveways that close to that corner is beyond me. It's a big issue with, like we said, your garbage trucks, your school buses, garbage cans being on the road. There's no room to put them on the road. The white line is in the dirt. 7 driveways coming out on that road does not work compared to even 2 accesses for a regular road with a stop sign. There's 2 houses across the street from those driveways. There's a field across the street from those driveways. The field would be a much better place to put headlights into as compared to a house. Issues with the drainage, I don't think will ever be solved because the drainage runs under the road, as was pointed out, and off into the corner, which is beyond the property of the developer or Camp Green.
Right, that's existing drainage.
Still drains through it.
Yes.
Still going to be an issue.
But the developer said that they're not going to add any runoff to that state drainage.
But all their drainage runs to the road.
The drainage runs to and it's kept on site. If I'll let you speak and then I'll have Sam come up.
I think that it is perfectly capable for the builder to build these houses. It is just more expensive, which I can understand why everybody is in favor of this plan, the board and the developer. I agree with you. It is going to save woods. I don't agree with you that it is not the best solution. I think the people and myself as an excavator, the impact would be less to have them spread out into 5-acre lots. As far as contamination of wells and septics, I think they should, if they're going to do a cluster development, they should be public water supply. 1 well feeds all houses. Would eliminate the risk of those wells being too close to the septics that are there. I think that's it.
Thank you. Come on up, sir. I'm going to do this side first and then we'll get to that side.
Sean Harrington, 418. Sean Harrington. 418 Hopkins Hall Road. Yep. So I kind of against the aesthetics of this. And if you think 10 years from now, how this is going to look, it's not going to look so good. But if you do put the cul-de-sac or whatever road in there, 5-10 years, it's all going to grow back in, look fine. So I think the whole nature thing is important, but it's going to happen anyways. Why not put them all the houses back here and keep the naturalness up here? One cul-de-sac road or something, no need to ruin the aesthetic quality of the road. That's my big issue. And I've agreed with pretty much all the other complaints.
But the reason we went into the open space because of the people abutted it from behind from Lewis Farm Road.
They're so far back there.
But they had a lot of concerns at master plan.
They're way back here. This is
Right there.
Hey, I'll get to you. You can have your turn. But we had a lot of concerns at master plan from the people in the back.
I think it's spreading it all out there. But, if they're not gonna like it, we don't like this. This is horrible. It's like the worst nightmare. House after house after house. Where are the mailboxes? Mailboxes have to be on the other side of the road, right? Where they all are now. The other mailboxes have to be on these other people's property, basically. It's just me so up. We don't like it.
I appreciate your concern, sir. Anybody else? Come on up there.
Patricia Hawkins, 1172 Plainfield Pike. I just want to say I agree with the man that went originally, and I just want to say one thing. I grew up right here in Central Coventry on Reed Schoolhouse Road, along with my family. Bunches of houses like this and plats pop up. I've moved out to Western. My parents have left the state of Coventry. The more clusters and plats that pop up, the more you're going to drive residents out of the town.
Thank you.
Yes.
Come on up. Name and address, please.
Ryan Gerard, 1301 Plainfield Pike. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I just have a brief statement. I do have to leave very soon. I won't pretend to have done the research or have the experience of the gentleman in the back, but I've lived 1301 Plainfield Pike the last 2 years. My mom grew up there, and my brief statement is I find it both laughable and deceptive that the development tries to say things like maintaining the rural disposition of Western Coventry. To maintain the rural disposition of Western Coventry, there won't be additional residential clusters, homeowners associations, and we most definitely won't be chopping down acres upon acres of forest to bring benefit to Western Coventry. The benefit will be in the profit of the developer, not the resident. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anybody else on this side like to come up? Okay, we'll go to the right side now. My right. Come on up, sir. You want to come up before your husband?
We'll see about that.
You always are. Name and address, please.
Arthur Restigian, 401 Hopkins Hollow Road. Rustigian, direct abutter to the project, speaking in opposition. I know I'm going to repeat myself, but you keep inviting me back, so.
That's all right. We don't mind, Mr. Stage. I can pronounce your name now, so that's great.
Just generally from things that were just said about that it meets the comp plan. What meets the comp plan mathematically? 5 acres separated to 5 acres there. It does meet that. And the idea that there's 20 acres of open space seems like they're creating it when in fact you're mowing down 20 acres of trees and you are leaving some open space. My family's been out there since 1950. They went out there for the forest, among other things. And part of what this board is supposed to preserve is plants and wildlife and the history and character of the region. Most of the stuff, like I said, is directly from the comp plan. Intensive development shouldn't occur. The district was designed for its maintenance of rural character. Excuse me, for its rural character, protection of the western end, and a quote from the comp plan: suburbanization of Western Coventry highly discouraged. And I'm not saying a name defines something, but these places like Rice City and Campground are being called estates. Now, I'm pretty sure that that term is implicit in suburbanization. I don't see any other way to look at it than that. If you look at from the roughly rail bed up to my house, for a couple hundred years, there's maybe 15 buildings, and this is proposing essentially a 500% increase all at once, and does seem to be flying in the face of the comp plan's no suburbanization. Comp plan also says that the town should be getting additional land for recreation and open space as the population grows. And the maintenance of 20 acres minus another 20 acres does not add open space. I know, as Mr. Thornton said, it would be good use for recreation. I know there's been lots of attempts by the Green Company and the Coventry Land Trust and Nature Conservancy and others that have looked at this property over and over, and hopefully they can look at that one more time. As the last gentleman said, a woman as well, about potentially driving people out of town. That is also in the comp plan. The variety of housing opportunities must recognize natural limitations and the visual quality of the community so that people of all ages stay in the town. It seems that this project may drive people out. I don't want to get too technical with this because I can't say it fully understand math. I taught history, so it means I can't add.
That's okay.
There was some talk about, well, wouldn't this add more taxes to the town? That the town would reap a tax benefit. But I was told that the town can only collect $114 million in taxes, and the town already collects $114 million. So this would not be an increase in any taxation. And if we get, well, it'll reduce everyone's tax burden, but spread out over the households of the town, I think we're talking about fractions of pennies here as far as savings goes. I did that. As far as the
He's making fun of you. Your wife's making fun of you.
Yeah, well, that, what a surprise. I again keep hammering on the comp plan because I'd like to see it held to, despite the math part of it. And I know that there is a clause for cluster development, and it's only a sentence or two about cluster developments allowed as long as it maintains the RR5. But like I've been trying to express, there's dozens and dozens of other places where it's talking about rural nature and natural beauty and others. So it seems to be inconsistent. I also took a look at the new comp plan being in the planning stages. And part of that new comp plan had a survey for town residents to weigh in. And all the questions on why do you stay in Coventry? What else does Coventry need? Et cetera, overwhelming. All those answers are natural beauty, recreation, rural nature, over and over again. And so this really needs to be taken into consideration. And last, I'd like to say, I've heard things expressed, or it leads to, well, if the applicant does everything they're supposed to, checks the boxes, then the board can't say no. They have to check the boxes. That's their job. They couldn't do anything else if they didn't check them. But your job, I believe, goes beyond box checking. You also need to determine whether it's consistent with what the local residents want, the way the current neighborhood is designed, excuse me, and the larger town vision. So I'm hoping that you'll deny the application. Thanks for letting me rant again.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. You can be next. Come on up. Name and address, please.
Hi, Donna Restigian, 401 Hopkins Hollow Road, Green, where I'm in a butter. One, want to thank everybody for taking into consideration the rural character when you were looking over the master plan. But it still doesn't come close to what the residents want. The residents don't want 7 ticky-tack houses because you can be guaranteed every single one of them is going to look alike. All right. And 4 bedrooms. This is what I heard tonight. And it kind of bowled me over. 4 bedrooms. Imagine how many people can be held up in one house. I was out on my deck the other night, having a glass of wine, listening to the birds. I see a woodpecker crawl in a hole, and I'm like, wow, this is a nice life. I don't hear any children screaming. I don't hear anything else except for the silence, which is why we built a house here. This is why we give our tax dollars to this town. I don't have children, so I don't use any of the school facilities. I get my trash picked up and I get my recycle picked up, and that's it. So as far as I'm concerned, the town is reaping benefits from me instead of the other way around, because as everybody heard, there we have no recreation. If we want recreation, we just walk out our door and we take a walk, maybe down narrow lane. Can't walk down Hopkins Hollow because, as Bob Thornton said, people are going 50 miles an hour, maybe 60. There was a dead deer. I was driving to work a couple months ago. Dead deer on the side of the road, right by the field across from Camp Green. It was a young one. Guaranteed it was hit by a car because it was going too fast. And the deer laid there for about 4 or 5 days festering till its gut was all blackened. And then one day I saw DOT scooping it up. Well, don't you know, when I drove back home, I saw 4 vultures. So more traffic, more roadkill, vultures coming in. They're not clean. They bring parasites, whatever, disease. That's another story. Rural character. It's exactly that. It's rural, it's agricultural, it's forested. Talk about forestation or deforestation, because this is part of deforestation. We have the eastern-western corridor of Connecticut and Rhode Island. And Rhode Island and Connecticut, they're working together to try to preserve that eastern corridor, but it's being scarred by developers who are cutting down forests. Now, Mr. Studley wants to cut down 61 acres over in Rice City. That's 103 acres. That's, 43,560 square feet. Times that by the 103 acres, that's 4,356,000 square feet of forest. That's a lot. Speaking to Bob Thornton's comment about the species that we have. So, and Bob, I apologize, I didn't mean to speak while you were speaking, but I get a little excitable. These gentlemen know that, and everybody else does too. But the pileated woodpecker, I just saw it this year for the first time in the 18 years I have been here. I called Stacy Harrington 10 o'clock at night, about a month ago. I'm like, are you hearing that? She goes, what are you talking about? It was the barred owl. They were going back and forth. They were protecting their territory. Why are they protecting their territory? Because they're nesting. These barred owls, I think there's maybe about 4 nesting pairs this year. That's incredible. We never heard them like we hear them during the day. We hear them at night. It's fantastic. This morning, I have a young doe with 2 fawns. 2 fawns, they're twins. They come to my yard every single day to feed on my weeds. Yay. Let's continue to have them. I know people think that deer are, they're just like walking rats. They multiply so much, but they are majestic. They are social animals. They feed their young. We need to preserve this. And not to mention the songbirds. Every year I have a list from the minute I start to hear them in the spring until they go like around this. They're all probably starting to leave now, but I listed 25 species just in my backyard. Imagine how the whole area between here and Rice City, all the nesting species of songbirds we have. The next topic I want to get to is really very important because we rely on our well water. We already did our well testing to see what type of minerals are in our water, and we've got to do some modifications on our system. But most concerned is what West Greenwich ran into. Now we all know that West Greenwich is running amok with these estates, and we know what Plain Meeting House Road looks like right now, right? It's a mess. Every time I go down there, I see some acreage blown out for houses. So they ran into well problems, and the town is now requiring well impact studies prior to large scale developments. Were you aware of that? Yes? No?
Not in West Greenwich, no.
Okay, so they're doing that now because of all the development. So that we are all on wells right now. I fear with 4 bedrooms, I fear running out of water. And then that's going to end up costing me money because I'm going to have to get a company out to drill even further down. And like Bob Thornton, we're pretty far down. Let's see, at 376 feet, 18 years ago, when they were drilling my well, they lost their drill bit. So I'm pretty far down. Also up at Chop Mist Hill, residents are experiencing well failure as a result of a nearby large scale construction. So I implore you, number one, to give this even more serious consideration, even though you may have already had your minds made up, because the rumor out in the community is that this is a done deal.
I don't want to hear that because it's not a done deal.
Okay. Well, I'm just letting you guys know what people
I
are
understand
talking.
that. We hear it all the time.
I know. Well, I'm just letting you know.
Don't question the integrity
No,
of the board.
I'm not. No. That wasn't why I said that.
I know. I'm just saying that,
So,
this board is here.
My question,
We do
no,
our
and I said I appreciated that you guys gave the consideration about the rural character. I started out like that, so no, this isn't what that is about. But I just really, I know that they're doing everything that they need to do, the applicants, to get this moving forward, and I honestly, as a layperson, I don't know how much the comp plan comes into your decision. If it does, I implore you to please try to keep our area as intact as you possibly can if this is going to be a reality. It's the noise pollution, it's the light pollution. I honestly have anxiety over this, thinking about it. It's seeping into my sleep. So I think I checked off all my boxes too. So
Thank you. for
I
your
thank
comment.
you.
Thank you.
Have a nice night.
Anybody else on that right side would like to come up, my right? Come on up, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Paul Masacci, 470 Lewis Farm Road, Marsocci.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm on the other side of this. I'm not on Hopkins Hollow. I'm on Lewis Farm Road. Okay. I know from living there since 1985, there's a ton of water that runs off towards Lewis Farm Road from that hill. So if you're cutting our trees down, there's going to be a lot more water coming to Lewis Farm Road in the wet season. We're going to have all kinds of problems with that road, and the town is going to have to bring their trucks up there and fix it every 10 minutes. I've been there long enough to see storms that come through. Like the other night, they got 6 inches up in Seacock. You get one of them, it comes down that hill and washes the whole road out. And the more time you're going to have up there with no trees sucking up the water from that hill, there's going to be more water coming down the Lewis Farm Road, washing it out. And I don't know if you can afford to have them trucks up there that often. They can't keep the road up now. And the houses you're planning there are going to be sold near the road. They're not going to be taking the water out of the ground. And they're all going to have kids. They're all going to be in that back part that's open spaces. And they're going to tear it to hell with their four-wheel drive bikes and the four-wheelers and the dirt bikes, like they do the Trestle Trail now. So you're going to have kids running up and down in their woods over there constantly, tearing the thing apart. And it's going to be just a disaster. That's all I can say. It's going to be, Lewis Farm Road is going to get washed out. It's only a dirt road now. You're going to have to do something to fix it every other day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to come up, please? Absolutely. Come on. You can come back up.
What chance?
No, you have to come up, give your name and address, please.
Stacy Harrington, 410 Hopkins Hollow Road. After hearing the community, the people that actually live there speak, do we have any chance of it being a no? I mean,
I can't answer that.
you can't answer that.
No.
Okay.
You can come up and speak, but you can't speak out, please. After she's done.
Come on up.
Name and address, please.
E. Thornton, 397 Hopkins Hollow Road, Green, Rhode Island.
Thank you. And the question was?
My question is, are we going to be involved? I mean, we are already involved, but if you're going to take and let it become a circus, what happens to us? When will we know about it? The day they start to dig? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mr. Cronin will answer all these questions. He's writing them down. I'm watching them.
Oh, okay. When will we know? If he's writing them down, do you mean now?
Yeah, he's going to answer his questions
okay.
as much as he
That's
can.
my question. I just don't want to be forgotten in a couple of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I, come on up, please. I'll get to her. Hold on. She's been very, very patient.
Robin Petraka, 105 Hopkins Hollow Road. This will be an emotional appeal. I am a lifelong resident of Coventry, of the village of Green. And at my almost 67 years, that's quite a bit of time. But my family goes back even further, over 100 years, living in the village of Green when the railroad first went through. I knew everyone that lived there in the village growing up. And I know many of the people that are here. And as a little girl, I remember the people coming to the camp meeting house, to the camp green for the Bible camp meetings. And they would be up there and we'd hear the music and the songs. They'd be coming from out of state. They would come, originally they'd come by train. When the camp closed, then I was in high school, elementary school, and my cousin and I would ride up through. It was a very peaceful place. Nobody ever told us we had to leave. And it was just a peaceful place to go and just be young people and have a wonderful time. I look at this and it looks to me, just by looking at the picture, as if you could practically reach out your window and shake your neighbor's hand. I take offense that there are houses as close as that. I live right in the village, which is too close for me. It's what I've always grown up with. But my house was built in 1850 when the railroad came through. And these were houses. And actually, my house was the little hall. The Masonic Hall is across the road, and mine is the little hall turned into a house. They were close little clusters. And there was a little dirt road that ran through. We are in the process of changing our driveway because I try to back out of my driveway and people come flying down the road and all of a sudden they're right on my tail. And if we have more people, they will fly through just the same way. It's just too close. It's like going to a plat. I know you're calling it a cluster development, but it's just like a plat, side by side, one next to the other. Do you want to live in a place like that? If I had to do it, I would say to have like that cul-de-sac so it's set back from the road. Camp Green always had the trees in the front and the little road that went through. It was a quiet little place. Even when all those people were there, you never saw them. You could hear the voices coming down on a hot summer night. You could hear it drifting down into the village. I just take offense from all this. And I am a lifelong resident. I am a teacher at Western Coventry School. I am on the board at the Green Public Library. I am active in my community, and I don't see this as good for my community and for my neighbors and my family. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Herb, you wanted to add something?
I think it was just more process wise. There was a question about the decision and all that, that essentially at the point when you close your public hearing, the public needs to know that you need to make your decision within 60 days from the closure of that public hearing. So if you were to close the public hearing tonight, you have to make your decision on this within 60 days.
Anybody else that hasn't come up and spoke yet? Mr. Estigian, you want to come up again? Yeah, after I get done.
Arthur Estigian, 401 Hopkins Hollow Road. I heard a few people express I'd rather have the yield plan, spread them out. And you've expressed it that is much more destructive.
Yes.
It would require a real clear cutting and street lights and a mess. But it's, so I would reject that certainly out of hand. But I don't think the alternative, as everyone has expressed, is any better. You know what I'm saying? I think the logic is like you spread them out. It seems fine. That's all I'm going to say.
That doesn't meet the character. Definitely not, in my opinion.
Right.
Thank you. Come on up. Then I'm going to go to Zoom, and if anybody wants to come up again, I just want to try to get to everybody that hasn't spoke yet.
Ed Cole, 1172 Plainfield Pike. Back to the drainage. You said that they're going to keep the drainage on the property, and it's not sitting easy with me. I heard that there were swales down both sides of the driveway. I didn't hear of any rain garden that was going to hold it in those swales. Maybe there was, but I didn't hear it. You're also talking about retaining water on frozen ground in the winter. It's not going to work. You're talking about retaining water in a 2-foot water table. It's not going to work on a heavy rain. Also, your rain gardens, town of Coventry, town of West Greenwich, Town of Foster, Town of Situate, no inspection process. How do we know they put them in?
Well, we have staff that inspects it.
Not on my jobs. Never been inspected.
Well, we do have Coventry engineers that look at all this property.
So there's, at the end of that, there will be someone out there to inspect. And sign
Yes,
off.
we have engineers on staff.
No CO until it's done.
I don't believe so, but if Herb, you want to answer that question? I mean,
We have a full-time town engineer licensed with the state of Rhode Island on board. But we've also had consulting engineers in the past up until a few months ago when this person came on board. We also have a building permit staff that does inspections such as electrical and all that through the process, and including the systems that go in during the process. And that's all up to the point where there's the CO, if that's what you're getting at.
So for downspout drains, there is somebody that goes out and inspects them?
The town engineer is responsible for reviewing the plans, and then as a development is going in, they will do inspections as part of steps in the process to ensure that things were done according to the way they were approved, whether it's a roadway design, drainage structures, detention basin ponds, that sort of thing.
Or you won't get a CO.
Okay, so we will hold you to it on this.
Yeah, I just went through the process about a year ago, so
okay,
they definitely inspect.
And I know for a fact that put them in the town of Coventry with no inspection, and the builders have gotten COs.
Well,
they're in, but they were never inspected.
Well, they should.
So nobody knows if they were in.
I can't answer to that. I can only answer to this project.
That's my only concern.
All right, thank you. You already spoke. I just want to see, is there anybody on Zoom? Does anybody have their hands up on Zoom that hasn't spoke yet?
There's two hands up.
Hey,
There's a Dave and a Glenn.
could we bring one of those in?
Yes. So Dave, Dave.
Hi, Dave. Name and address for the record, please.
David Dancero, 1243 Plainfield Pike.
Okay.
I just wanted to mimic basically what everyone else is stating, that these type of cluster developments do not belong in our rural community at all, and it's completely destroying our character. I'm actually on here for another Rice City, come right on Rice City Road, and I'm looking forward to talk to that one later. But these cluster developments are literally destroying our community and driving people out of our community. I know a lot of people that refuse to want to move here because of the cluster developments. And me personally, I'm looking to move out because of these cluster developments. If they continue to happen, I want to live in a rural community. I do not want to live in a bunch of tiny little cluster developments. That is not a rural community. So I just wanted to express my opinion that I think these type of developments in our rural area is a horrible and idea that is taking away from the rural part of Western Coventry. Thank you.
Thank you. And before you leave, I just want to let you know, you still there, Dave?
I am, yes.
The Rice City project is continued till next month. That will be heard next month, not tonight.
Okay, thank you for letting me know that. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Is that?
You have Glenn Underwood.
Glenn, would you like to speak for the?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Glenn.
Okay. Glenn Underwood, 818 Hopkins Hollow Road. First, I want to echo Mr. Resigen's comments about that this is not in line with the comprehensive plan. And I think there's several issues. If you just look at that map, when you do a cluster development, it's supposed to be consistent with the properties that are adjacent to it. And it's certainly not by the maps. But secondarily, I want to talk about the no-cut zone in the front. You're talking about 50-foot, I thought I heard there. Those are old trees, old big pine trees. And when they fall down, it's going to be clear right back to the house lots. So instead of a 50-foot no-cut zone, it should be probably a 75-foot vegetated zone. So the lights and new traffic won't be affecting the people that have houses across the street there. So I think there should be some addressing of that, because a no-cut zone just means that, oh, I can't cut any of those trees unless they're a hazard or whatever. So I think, that doesn't suffice anything. Third, I do agree that there's a lot of drainage issues there that have not been addressed. I think Mr. Cole sort of pointed that out with the frozen ground. That water is going to be coming right down Hopkins Hollow Road onto the corner there, where it's already, it's either going to go down that ditch, it's going to go onto the Green Public Library's land as runoff, it's going to go down across the way. It flows also onto the other side of Hopkins Hollow Road. So we've got some issues that haven't been addressed in that drainage plan. As for frozen ground, 2-foot water table, you just can't contain that with those driveways. If they're paved driveways, you're not going to be able, the water's just going to run down them. I think there's a lot of things here. But the final question is the appeals process. If I'd like to hear from Dave D'Agostino, I see him sitting there. What is the appeals process? Because obviously the community is not really going to be, in favor of this. And then there's a path forward for the citizens to appeal a decision by a planning board. That's all.
You want to touch base on that, Dave, on the appeal process? If it does get approved.
So state law does provide the right of appeal by individuals who are aggrieved by decisions of the planning board. I could go through the specific state statutes. It would take some time this evening, but there is a process under state law for those who are aggrieved parties. So, and there's a specific delineation of who is an aggrieved party under the statutes. So,
thank you, Dave.
There is a process.
I'm sorry. I just
go ahead.
Just a couple of quick things to follow up, because that I don't want to appear that the answer was too vague. The aggrieved parties could be one or more abutting property owners.
Yes,
and the process is through the state superior court.
Yeah, yes, that is
It's
correct.
not at the local level.
That is correct.
Okay,
It would require a filing of a complaint at the superior court level challenging the decision of the board. And aggrieved parties are usually those individuals who have received notice of who are abutters within a certain distance.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Rick. Mr. Underwood, did you hear that explanation?
Yes, I did, and I appreciate that. Thank you. That answers the question.
Are you all set, Mr. Underwood?
That's all my comments for now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else on Zoom?
No one else's hands are up.
Okay. Anybody on Zoom, raise their hand if they want to speak. Okay. I'll go back to the public. Come on up. Please try not to be redundant. I appreciate your passion, though.
Yeah, I got a lot of passion.
I need your name again.
I know. Robert Thornton, 397 Hopkins Hollow Road. I wanted to follow up on 2 points. This gentleman said that there's a appeal process that takes 60 days. You have to make a decision. Is that correct? In this meeting? Is that right? Did I understand that right?
Once they decide to close their public hearing, there's 60 days that they have to make a decision after that.
Correct.
They could choose to recess their hearing to a time certain. Otherwise, they'd be closing tonight.
So that being said, 60 days from today, the board makes a decision as to whether they proceed. Is that correct?
We could make a decision tonight.
Up to 60 days.
Up to 60, but we could make the
So in
decision.
regards to the appeal process, if I understood it correctly, it's up to each individual or individuals that abut that property to take that to Superior Court to file a complaint against him and the developer or against the town of Coventry.
You're challenging whatever decision this board makes. If the board rules in favor of this, you take your group of folks or individually go to Superior Court as an aggrieved party, and you're essentially challenging our decision.
Correct. So I would take the town of Coventry to court to sue you for the decision that you made? with
I
them?
would like to have a solicitor answer that question.
Yes, so any appeal of a decision of the planning board would obviously involve challenging the planning board's decision under the statutory requirements. So the short answer to your question is yes, you'd be suing the town of Coventry.
Okay.
For the decision that the planning board makes relative to a particular applicant's application.
So I sue the town of Coventry Planning Board with any other of the members of the neighborhood that want to sue. Do I sue the town individually or as a whole?
It's actually an action against the planning board for its decision.
So the board as a whole, I wouldn't, when I was decided to sue in Superior Court, I wouldn't be suing Mr. Flynn or each individual. I would be suing the board.
You're putting me in a very difficult position because you're asking me, I advise the town. So you're asking me how to sue the town that I advise.
I suggest.
I'm asking you, no, you're misconstruing my point. And I don't think it's funny. If I want to self-represent, I don't think it's funny at all. I challenge your decisions to that. I'm asking you for the law. I didn't ask you to represent the town here. I'm going to represent me if I sue them. And if you're going to be the lawyer, then I'll ask you the questions and I'll put you on the stand and ask you the law. That's what I'm asking, sir. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I did not ask you to represent them. And I appreciate a smart answer and not a smart ass answer.
No,
That's what I'm asking.
No, you misconstrued my response to you.
I didn't ask you about suing now. I asked you what is your obligation to tell me as you're the town's attorney, as
He's
a
our
public
attorney.
official that owns property. What is your responsibility to tell me how the process goes to sue the town of Coventry? That's what I'm asking you.
I don't represent you, I represent the board. So if you are aggrieved by a decision of the board, you will sue the board.
Correct.
And he's our attorney. So I would appreciate I mean, he's our attorney. So you're sitting there asking him how to sue us.
No, I'm not asking I asked you the law. There's a big difference between asking.
You mean you want the Rhode Island state law?
That's correct. That's what I wanted to know, the process, sir. I'm not asking him to defend you or defend me.
He is going to defend.
That's right. He's going to, if I sue you. I'm asking you for the law, just like if I asked a policeman, what's the law on a speeding? What was I doing? I'm asking you the law. I'm not asking you to judge, jury me. I'm asking you the law. I have the right to sue you and everyone on the board. And if he represents you, I have the right to put him up on the trial.
Are you asking for the title and section out of the state general law? Just the title? And then you can look it up yourself.
I'm asking you the rights as a citizen of Coventry, what my rights are. So I have an appeal process, correct? If you make a decision tonight or within 60 days, will that decision be postmarked to me or will I receive that? Will I receive any notification in the mail as to your decision within 60 days as to what happens tonight?
You can check with the planning department.
Check with the planning.
But you can consult your own attorney or you can do your own legal research.
Oh, I do my own legal research. If I was going to sue the town of Coventry, I'll sue by myself. Then they would give special recommendations because I'd be representing myself. I wouldn't have to go through representation by a lawyer. And I don't intend to sue anybody. I think everybody in this room has every right to ask you what you said. God bless that lady that's lived here forever and her family. I think that's what we really need to look at. What do you folks sitting on the board, when you look out here, what do you want to see for Coventry? Because if you're seeing what I'm seeing, I didn't see anybody in this room raise their hand and say, geez, I think this is the greatest idea you people ever came up with. But here's my point. I don't want to sue anybody. I came to Coventry in 1996 from a 40 by 80 lot in Providence, where Killingly Street was right there. When my neighbor was just like that lady said, I could see in your window and tell you what kind of conversation we're going to have for breakfast. That's not what I'm here for. I'll fight you in this court and Coventry and everybody here. And if we can, we'll get everybody in this room to join. Then we'll pull a class action lawsuit because like that gentleman said, you're ruining Coventry. I looked at 35 houses before I picked Coventry. You know why? Because that house was perfect. A beautiful camp, like that lady said. I lived next to that camp for all the years they were singing. And you know what? It was beautiful to hear that. You know why? Because those people were happy. And you're going to put them 7 houses in. All the people that are on this road are not going to be happy. And moving out, that's an option. We could have bought that property. $400,000. But I took a choice between me and my wife at 67 years old, an RV or a property that I can't move in. $400,000. I got plenty of money to buy that property. I didn't want to buy the property. I want to drive, see the United States with the honey. But guess what? You put that in, I'll be leaving like some of these other people leave. I don't want any trouble with anybody and anybody disrespect anybody. If you don't listen to the people that are here, the next time you try to cluster in, we're going to spread the news for the next cluster is coming to your development and your neighborhood. It's going to come to your neighborhood too. But like this gentleman said, why are you doing 7? Why not 6? Why not 5? Why not really look at this, the impact of what you're doing to Coventry? That's what I think you should. Just take a look at the people and take a look at where you're throwing this place. And maybe some folks, I know a couple of you might have gone through Campview. Just take one walk through there and tell me you want to see houses in there. Because nobody here does.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Okay, I'm not seeing anybody. Anybody on Zoom?
No.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing.
I motion to close public hearing.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion. I have a motion to close. I have a second discussion.
I just want to make sure, does Mr. Cronin or the engineer have anything to add before we close public hearing to some of those last remarks or concerns?
Sure.
Sorry, Mr. Cronin. I thought you
Thomas Cronin.
touched base on all the.
Just a point of order, Mr. Chairman, you have a motion and a second on the table.
Yes.
So before, so that's.
I'll amend my motion.
We're going to remove the motion and the second. Thank you, Herb. Okay, Mr. Cronin, come on up.
Mr. Masachi, I believe his name was, on Lewis Farm Road, I thought brought up an excellent point. And I have seen open spaces in the town of Coventry misused with the motorized or mechanical recreational vehicles. And I think it is consistent with what we're trying to do, to include a restriction or prohibition against that kind of activity in the open space. And I'd be willing to add that to the documents that I submit to the town for the cluster development homeowners association restrictions that would be, binding on the folks that live there. And I think was a good suggestion. I just want to say that I hadn't thought of that before, but
no, it was a good point.
I'm in agreement.
Okay, anybody else want to speak?
I have one question.
Come on up, please.
Thank you, sir.
Donald Berger, 410 Hopkins Hollow. Donald Berger, 410 Hopkins Hollow. Is the decision of the board has to be unanimous or it is a majority?
It's a 5. You have to have 5 votes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up. You haven't spoken yet. Name and address, please.
My name is Tracy Mahaffey. I'm at Mahaffey. Absolutely. Mahaffey. I'm at 120 Hopkins Hollow Road, and not having to have kind of heard about a homeowners association in a rural area when all these restrictions are put on, such as clear cutting or maintaining all-terrain vehicles in the area. If this activity is going on, what do us in the rural area have? Do we have a way of accessing the homeowners association for our grievances, or do we go to the town? Or again, I don't even really know what a homeowners association is.
The homeowners association on the open space will be delineated by the 7 house lots.
Okay.
If any restrictions we put on that development, the town can react to it. We have zoning offices.
Okay. So that means we would be able to come to the
Yes.
town. Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Just wanted to understand how that gets it.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else have anything new to say on this project tonight? Seeing none. Anything from Zoom? Or
Still hands down.
okay. I will ask for a motion to close public hearing.
I make a motion to close
I
public
have a
hearing.
motion by Mr. Reyes. I have a second by Mr. Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, public hearing is closed. Does anybody on the board have any questions for the applicant?
Yes, I'd like to say something.
Go ahead, Mr. Race. You addressing Mr. Cronin?
Mr. Clinton, yes, oh, in the public too, but I'm looking at this. Across the street, there's 6 lots. Okay, just right across the street from the 7. And what I'm listening to the public says there's been a lot of accidents, someone died on that corner. Can we take out that first lot where the accident's been occurred, leave that alone and keep the 6? So that would match up with across the street. So 6 lots across the street, 6 lots on this side. And we can, if we move move them back to 825 foot, put them in the middle, it'll give them a little more buffer too. So it brings up more buffer, brings them back just a little more, so they won't be on the back road when the other people live on the other side of the street. And you have that corner, that's a dangerous corner. There's no house there. No one's coming out of that corner. And it matches across the street of their 6 units on 6 lots from lot number 29 to 34.
Can I?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm not sure where we are in that.
Oh, he's talking about the site distance. I thought we had adequate site distance on that corner lot, but
So I can't agree to reduce the number of lots to 6. What we have done after master plan in response to comments from this board is 2 things. We moved the driveway for that lot as far away from that corner as we could get it, while not pointing at the house, the headlights at the house across the street, which is one of the other things that we talked about. We don't want that exits to hit the houses. And we added turnarounds to the driveways for each of the houses. So no, as I think it was Ms. Gardner said, no one's trying to back out of their driveway onto Hopkins Hollow. So those are the efforts that we have made to increase the safety with regard to that lot in that corner. But that's what we've included in our plans.
thank you, Mr. Cronin. I have one comment, and I've listened to a lot of testimony tonight. We have a land trust and we have a conservation commission that I think a lot of you people would fit in. We cannot get a quorum for those 2 commissions. And the land trust and the conservation commission, we used to get for every application input from the Conservation Commission. It's a shame because I see so many talented people that testified tonight. You might want to think about getting on these boards. So I'll get off my soapbox now. Is there anybody else on the board that would like to ask any question? Okay, hearing none.
Well,
go ahead, Rick.
I don't know. I guess I'm kind of looking for guidance here. We've got master plan approval for what we see on the plan. The plans now have been further developed. I guess I'm trying to look at, and we heard one of the residents ask, what happens if you guys approve this and we want to appeal? So to the contrary, if someone makes a motion to approve this and it fails, what's the likely scenario after we've already instructed this applicant that we didn't have an issue with the 7 lots? And I don't know if you have an answer. I don't know if Mr. Cronin would weigh in. I'm just kind of wondering what the options are, because I asked a similar question, I think, when we had another project and folks came out at preliminary plan and said they wanted to change the density, and we had already approved the density at master plan. So I'm just kind of wondering what the ramifications would be.
I'll try to take some of that. So as a quasi judicial board, you have to weigh the facts. You have to make a decision against the regulations and the state statutes. Okay. There are certain rights that vest at each stage of the approval process. So the applicant has already received a master plan approval. There are certain rights which have come with this board's approval at master plan. I really can't speculate as to what happens after this board makes a decision, other than to say aggrieved parties have the right of appeal, because it's this body's job to consider the facts, weigh it against the law, and make a decision. That decision at preliminary plan can be different than what was approved at master plan, but that may trigger certain rights that the applicant has. I can't speak or speculate as to what an applicant might do if their rights at master plan have been prejudiced or perhaps reduced by a subsequent decision of this board. Because as we already know in the file in this case, there was a solar project plan for this property. It did not go forward. There was another 7-lot development plan for this property. It did not go forward. We may not necessarily know the reasons why, but I think we don't want to speculate beyond what your job is tonight.
Yep.
If Mr. Cronin wants to add anything to that, he's welcome to, I would imagine.
And I won't ask him to do that, but you right at the opening statement, and I'm going to follow up with two things. You said we have to weigh the regulations and the
you are essentially sitting as judges, and what you have to do is you have to listen to the facts, look at the regulations, and take the evidence, which consists of the testimony, the plans, and you have to weigh that evidence against the regulations that this town subdivision regulations, and including the comp plan, as has been talked about this evening, as well as state statutes. And you have to render a decision.
Okay. And the density, if I'm not mistaken, and again, I'm just trying to make sure everyone, we make a good decision, because I think there's a lot of emotions in the room right now. On the density, that was already addressed at master plan. And there was an appeal that could have been filed when that decision was made by any aggrieved party or neighbor.
That is correct.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. I'm good with that.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments?
I have a question regarding.
We closed public hearing. I'm sorry. Well, I can't take a question after I close public hearing. I'm sorry.
You asked him a question. If he can't, he's asked a question. He can't answer the question. It's not in the field.
It can't.
Yeah.
We can't list. Public hearing has been closed.
We didn't know we could appeal. We weren't told that we could appeal the decision of the master plan, so that's why we're confused. Whether you're public hearing or not.
The public hearing has been closed.
No, keep your hand down. The town has a right and an obligation to tell the people, their residents, what the process is. That's why I asked that.
I don't want to have you removed, but I can.
You can. And
I know.
You can. And I'm not asking to be removed, but you're saying the process. He got a chance to speak after you closed the meeting because you had a question. You closed the meeting to the public, but you did not close it to the
Because we always, after the public hearing, the board always asks questions.
No idea we could have. I don't think most of the people in this room had any idea we had an appeal process, nor did I. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the board. I did not know we could have appealed the master plan decision and or this decision. And if we can, then we were not given due process under the master plan, of which, in my opinion, you could be sued for because you and him are responsible for these meetings to tell the public exactly what they're supposed to do. We have a right to state our opinion, and we have a right to know our rules. We did not, I'm sure, I won't speak for everybody, but we did not know.
I can't let this continue. You don't want me to call the Coventry Police. I mean, we've closed public hearing. We listened. I let everybody talk. Thank you.
And I'd like to know what the commission is about. You're talking about the land trust too. Can I ask that to you after?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion on this project.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a favorable motion. Proposed 7-lot major residential cluster subdivision. Owner, Green Camp Associate. CO River Point, HT Church. Applicant, John W. Studley III. Address 323 Hopkins Hollow Road. Plot AP 308, lot 28. Zone RR5, lot size 40.8 plus acres. Existing use is an abandoned campground. Proposed use 7 single-family dwelling units. The applicant proposes to subdivide the existing parcel into 7 single residential lots. Hopkins Hollow Estates, as presented, is a major residential cluster subdivision. The proposed lot size will range from 2.99 acres to 3.03 acres and will include approximately 20.24 acres of open space. Considerations of finding of fact, consistency with the comprehensive plan. Comp plan notes that residential cluster subdivisions as a means to preserve open space, D.4-5 and D.7-9 to protect habitat, D.6-18. This plan is constructing a residential subcluster with 20 acres of open space. The proposal will not likely have undue adverse environmental impacts. The plan generally conforms with zoning regulations. Traffic impacts were not addressed at great length in this application, but the comparatively small number of lots does not indicate significant impacts. As a note, the applicant did try to address the first lot where the corner is that has had significant vehicle incidents by moving the driveway as far away possible from that corner on that lot. And also the applicant has arranged the driveway on all of the lots so they are not shining in the house lots across the street. Preliminary plans completeness met the town's deadline of August 5th, thus the planning commission must act within 90 days of August 5th. We are doing that now. Utilities, the project will be served by individual OWTS private wells, Rhode Island Energy for electricity. Need approvals and other information. Aside from the planning commission, this major land development requires the following approvals and other information as part of any final plan application submittal. Western Coventry Fire District approval. Rhode Island Department of Energy Environmental Management OWTS approval. Written confirmation for Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management determining whether Wetlands Act applies to the proposed subdivision, including any required off-site construction in lieu of such confirmation. An affidavit can be submitted and attested by a qualified professional, stating that no freshwater wetlands are present or within 200 feet of the property being subdivided. Rhode Island Department of Transportation approval. Physical altercation permit for the access to the state highway, maintaining stormwater on the property. No discharge off the property or a net zero discharge. Submission of drainage calculations and any related drainage stormwater plan based on the requirement of the town engineer in reference to the engineer's July 7, 2022 memo. No. The DPW director requires the storm flow calculations ensure that it is a zero net increase in runoff from each lot. Subject to the review of that information by the town engineer, additional changes to the plans and related specifications may be required for approval by the town engineer prior to any final plan application submittal. Construction site erosion and sediment control approved by the town engineer. Despite the applicant's letter of transmittal for preliminary plan application submittal, the preliminary plan set and related documentation continue to offer no information on open space or its permanent protection. Such information needs to be submitted to the Director of Planning and Development for approval prior to any final plan submission. Landscape plan with related specification detail for approval by the Director of Planning Development for the proposal residential lots. The 50-foot buffer of existing trees does not satisfy the requirement for a landscape plan. If a waiver for street tree requirements being requested, such waiver shall be requested along with written justification. Such waiver is not granted by the planning commission. The applicant remains required to meet the town's regulation concerning street trees. As a note, the applicant is providing a 50-foot buffer from the street to back from the property line. Any of the plan set sheets, including reference to Hopkins Hollow Road, require verification of accuracy. There is an existing stone wall associated with the proposed residential lot number 7. Any final plan application submittal needs to 1, identify what plan the applicant has for the stone wall, and 2, verify the Historical Preservation Committee chair that there is a historical value and it requires protection or mitigation. If part of the wall is to be disturbed. Given renewed effort by the town to update the comprehensive plan, the town is required to address traffic planning throughout the community, including for non-motorized trails path. As such, anticipation of such effort and the project's parcel proximity to the Washington Secondary Bikeway and Green Public Library. All utilities shall be installed underground for its respectful specifications included on the plans. Indication from the fire district as to whether or not streetlights are required along Hopkins Hill Road in proximity to proposed development. If so, any final plan application submittal shall include consideration for such requirement, including their type, wattage, installation, and related specification. As-built are required by the applicant and recorded in the land records upon receiving approval by the town engineer. Homeowners Association documentation shall be prepared for approval by the town. The final version shall be recorded in the land records in addition to any other draft legal documents describing the property. Proposed easements, right-of-way, dedications, restrictions, and other required legal documents, including deed restrictions, residential cluster development agreements, need to be submitted as part of the final application submittal. Adherence to applicable recommendation contained in January 31st, 2022 letter from Pi Biosystems Inc. to Sam Sorcer, PLS, shall be adhered to, including protection of the vernal pool near the western property line. Such areas shall be shown on the plan set as part of any final plan application submittal, and protection language shall be included in the homeowners association document. The applicant is subject to all fees, including filing fees, stenograph fees, development impact fees, building permit fees, inspection fees, recording fees, and shall be paid at time of making application or as otherwise required. Monuments and lot corner markers shall be shown on the plans and the plat in accordance with the subdivision regulations. Also, certification by a registered land surveyor that all interior and perimeter lot lines and street lines of the land being subdivided have been designed to conform to procedural technical standards for the practice of land surveying in state Rhode Island as prepared as the Rhode Island Society of Professional Land Surveyors, Inc. Any and all local, state, and federal permits, approvals as applicable pursuant to Article 7 of subdivision regulations, respective guarantee of public improvements shall be provided and approved by the planning commission, town engineer, along with recommendations, with any recommendations of public works director. Any and all applicable requirements of subdivision regulations not identified here remain the responsibility of the applicant to prepare for and provide to the town for its review and approval. And I would like to incorporate the staff report in my recommendation.
Thank you. Could you also final administrative?
I would also like to include final administrative
And the 100-foot,
Rear buffer.
and the 100-foot rear buffer, as agreed to by Mr. Cronin.
And no recreation motor vehicles in the open space.
Yep, no recreation motor vehicles in the open space to be included in the homeowners association documentation.
Thank you, Jim.
Anything else?
I think that's it. Good job. I hear a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, discussion, please.
Yeah.
We are bound and obligated by the comp plan, and also the residential zoning ordinance that is in the comp plan.
Yes.
To allow these residential clusters. My hang up now is that both sides, both representations said they wanted less. Less is better. That's why they went with the 7, with the 3 acres, which is really close, to the vision of the 5 acres RR5. I stated earlier, I believe the numbers fit, for the 6. I don't understand. Maybe I'm just naive. We voted on the master plan, but just knowing that you could fit 6 instead of 7 and give more frontage and alleviate whatever that math is percentage wise, 13% of an issue. I just have an issue that it could be improved on and still follow the comp plan and the ordinance. And I just want that to be noted in my comments before I declare my vote. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, I'm going to.
I just want to say I second Mr. Anderson's comments, and I think it could be improved upon a little bit more after hearing some more testimony tonight. Different testimony, slightly different than master plan, and I would like to have seen a little more rural character preserved, a little more of a buffer in the front. That's all I would like to add.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to agree with both of my colleagues.
Okay.
I'm sorry, now.
Oh, sorry. I agree with them as well.
Okay, I have a motion. If I have a second? I did. I have a second by Mr. Smith. We have discussion. I'm going to take a roll call vote. Mr. Kinney?
Yay.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
No.
Mr. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson? Nay. Mrs. Eldricken?
No.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Clunian?
yes.
Chairman Flynn also says yes. So I think we have 5. Motion carries. Yep. Thank you.
I know that.
Yes, so I can do after the meeting. We're not done yet, but I'm gonna, that's okay.
Ian Dixon's here, should town council president.
So the land trust,
He'd be on board.
so
Rich hasn't done that. Agreed. No, I agree.
Call the order.
I'm sorry.
We've already.
Yeah.
I didn't adjourn the meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we have director's report. Yeah. I'll give you a minute, Herb. Be hard to hear you.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I'm not with it. That's why we have, that's why we got a 9-8 member board wherever we are.
Go ahead, Herb.
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing to report.
All right.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna ask for a motion to adjourn. Oh, sorry. Thanks, Rick. Anybody on Zoom for public comment or in the audience? Please raise your hand. Anybody on Zoom would like to add any public comment? No. Anybody in the audience would like to come up for public comment? Okay, seeing none,
A motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Mr. Ray's makes the motion. Mr. Kenny second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We're adjourned.
Yeah, usually you get the. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think so, though. I was like, yeah.
You okay?
Yeah.
It was. It was.